In one of the cities of Shangxi, an ominous silence reigned, but no one could have predicted that the day would come when it would be captured by monsters. A lone youth, fighting against hordes of enemies, encountered the last monster and froze, amazed by its terrifying appearance. At that moment, he wondered, could these really be the last moments of his life? He lost all sense of where he was. Suddenly, he felt drops of blood splash onto his white shirt as he looked at the enemy. The demon unleashed a heroic soul attack on him, and the young man found himself under attack from magical rays. Meanwhile, in another world where peace and harmony reigned, a girl, clutching her stomach, complained that she had overdone it with tea and could not stand it any longer. Looking around the deserted area, she decided that she had no choice but to relieve herself in a secluded place. At that moment, a portal opened up next to her, and an unfamiliar guy fell out of it. The young man clutched his head, trying to understand where he had ended up. The girl, standing behind him, held her breath, afraid to give herself away. He thought, did he really survive that fateful moment? Many years ago, when humanity reached the heights of technology, hordes of ancient monsters rose from their graves, sowing chaos and death everywhere. Eastern cultivation masters and Western sorcerers who had been hiding in the shadows for thousands of years began to return to the world one after another. All the powers suddenly realized the value of immortals and began to implement policies to support them. A new teaching was born in the university's cultivation, but instead of unity against evil, people only exposed their greed. Only the 7 great empires continued to fiercely compete for cultivation resources, which led to a bloody war. At that time, he was a simple student from a poor family, without knowledge or skills in cultivation. But in the midst of the carnage, he stumbled upon a great treasure, the Hall of Heroic Souls. Mighty warriors of the past and present became servants of this hall. However, its power inspired fear in the major powers of the world. They ambushed him during a battle with monsters to protect their celestial mentor, and he stood alone against them. The young man turned to the strongest warriors, whose names resound in 3 worlds and about whom legends have been composed for centuries. In the name of the last emperor of mankind, he called upon them, let them come again and answer his prayer to save the human race. He proclaimed that he had become the incarnation of the great creation of the 12 gods. Let Pangu rise again. As a result, Pangu, summoned by the spell of the 12 ancient demons, was wiped off the face of the earth along with them. The world has turned into absolute emptiness. That's right. So he really died. But then what's happening now? When he saw the building, the young man recognized it and exclaimed, "This is the Tian Chuan Cultivation Academy." In the past, it was destroyed by demons, and only he managed to escape. Looking at his smartwatch, he realized that he had gone back in time, to his 18 years, to his youth. Suddenly, he heard a rustling sound and turned around sharply, noticing a girl relieving herself. The young man shouted, asking if she was really peeing there. The girl blushed and screamed in shame. A group of boys, hearing the scream, rushed towards the sound, wondering if she was in trouble and deciding that they needed to hurry to help. The girl grabbed the boy and dragged him behind a tree, hissing that if he made even a sound, she would bury him. She knew that if they were caught, her reputation would be ruined and she would lose her status as a leader. The young man listened carefully and realized that the person in front of him was Jiang Yu, the most outstanding senior student in the academy. The guys, having reached the place, found nothing despite the screams and decided to continue the search in another place. Jiang angrily asked the young man what he was going to say. He looked at her and advised her to pull up her pants first. He muttered that he had already smoked a pack of cigarettes, but still could not understand why he was being punished like this. Jiang asked the young man if he was a student there and what his name was. Rubbing his swollen cheek, he replied that he was Zhang Qing, a first-year student in the humanities department. He added that due to his poor academic performance and his parents' poverty, he had no chance of attending cultivation classes. Jiang noticed that he was from a different faculty. But did he even know who she was? Zhang nodded. Of course, she is Jiang Yu, the head of the disciplinary committee and the strongest student in the entire academy. Jiang, flushing, repeated the question of whether he knew who she was. Zhang, throwing up his hands, replied that he had no idea and was completely unaware of it. As she left, Jiang said that she thought he understood everything. If he let it slip, he would immediately become a dead man. At that moment, the boys noticed her and exclaimed that she had been there all along. Seeing the scene, they blushed. One of the girls asked Jiang if this was her future fiancé. She couldn't believe that they were doing such things in a place like this. Jiang objected that everything was not as they thought. The girls assured that they would remain silent as the grave. Jiang, losing her patience, roared with sparks of anger, asking if they were tired of giggling, and released lightning that struck the ground. Zhang was shocked to realize the power of one of the academy's top students. It was incredibly impressive. The news reported that yesterday, hordes of monsters had wreaked havoc in a nearby city, destroying everything in their path. Over 100 cultivators and 10 million residents had died overnight. Now the authorities are pinning their hopes on university students to join the army in the future and defend the homeland. Zhang, like an ordinary student, went to class but suddenly froze, hit the desk, and exclaimed that he was back. He swore that he would do everything right now. He would save everyone and prevent the Donglong Empire from falling into darkness. When he came to, he noticed that the whole class was staring at him. The hall immediately burst into laughter. Gao Hao, a fifth-level cultivator, mockingly remarked that this was to be expected from the group's biggest loser. Not only does he sleep in class, but he also spouts nonsense when he's half asleep. Chen Yuan glanced at Zhang and added that their country was one of the 6 great powers and no one would dare to attack them. Why would you need the help of some fool? Gao, catching Zhang's eye, asked why he was making such a serious face. He was acting like a lunatic. Does he really want to compete with his commoner aura against his 5th stage? Chun snorted that he was just a fool pretending to be a hero. It was pitiful to even look at him. Zhang knew that these students, who were born with privilege, always looked down on him. Relying on their power, wealth, and connections, they constantly tried to humiliate him during his studies. But on the battlefield, when the demons appeared, these arrogant ones were just pathetic ants, ready to be crushed. The teacher, angry, barked at Zhang that if he didn't want to listen to the lesson, he could flunk out. Zhang, resigned, apologized. He couldn't believe that a bunch of nobodies had managed to anger him. It seemed that with the revival, he had lost not only his skills. At that moment, the girl next to him spoke to him. Zhang looked and recognized Chen Ning. How come he hadn't noticed that he was in love with her before? Ning noticed that Zhang was sweating. Was he having a nightmare? He lowered his head and replied that it was possible to say so. Ning teased him for having the nerve to sleep through the formidable Shui's lecture. Maybe he dreamed of her too? Zhang smiled, saying that wherever he fell asleep, he could see her beautiful face. Ning, embarrassed, muttered why he blurted out such a thing so suddenly. Zhang remembered that if he could save even one person, if he had the slightest chance to become a cultivator and fix everything, he would die without hesitation. A month ago, a low-ranking demon appeared in the academy, destroying everything in its path. Although the cultivators from Tian City defeated it, Chen Ning and thousands of students died. From that day on, his life turned upside down. Zhang swore that this time he would protect her at all costs. Ning chuckled that she was at the 8th step and in the top 100 in the immortal rankings. If Zhang wants to be her protector, he will have to sweat and work tirelessly. Zhang reflected that with his reincarnation, he had lost all knowledge beyond this era. But it was only a matter of time before it was restored. He felt that one of the students was watching him. He turned around and saw Gao Hao. Gao was whispering to his friends that this upstart was getting too cocky today. One of them pointed out that everyone knew how much Gao's brother liked Ning. Gao declared that he would personally give 100,000 to anyone who could make Zhang embarrass himself in front of her. Chun, hearing this, perked up and said that she would take up the matter. She immediately screamed that Zhang, that idiot, stole her money. Chen apologized to herself, adding that with this 100,000, she would be able to enter the cultivation department and become the best. Everyone turned to stare at Zhang, who remained silent, seething with anger at their outburst. The teacher sternly asked Zhang if it was true. Gao shouted that he had seen Chen's money end up in his bag. Zhang realized that they had switched his backpack. If he checked now, the money would most likely be there. Zhang's classmates began to hurl insults at him, humiliating him. He just looked at them, absorbing their words. Only now did Zhang wonder, why did Gao, Chun, and the others always pick on him? Was it out of envy? Or was it perhaps his own fault? Why did everyone call him Idiot Zhang instead of calling him by his full name? In this life, the young master decided that he would make them regret it. Chun shouted that Zhang, that idiot, was wasting his time making excuses. Gao and the others had seen it all with their own eyes. The teacher, burning with anger, demanded that he stop pretending, show the bag and return what he had stolen. Ning couldn't take it anymore and slammed her desk down hard. She said that they were going too far. She grew up with Zhang since childhood and can vouch that he is a worthy and honest man. One of the guys stood up and added that everyone had seen how Gao and his gang were always picking on Zhang. How can anyone trust their words? Chun snorted that their academy was too kind to allow scum like him to study here. She turned to Ning, advising her not to be deceived. Zhang was 1,000 times worse than she thought. Gao added that he knew how Ning's parents had taken Zhang in and given him shelter. But did she know what he was really like? Ning asked sharply what they were getting at. Chen replied that in addition to the money, she had also lost unwashed panties, and Gao and his friends had caught Zhang doing it. The students started to shout, calling him disgusting and outraged at how they could even be around such a guy. They demanded Zhang's immediate expulsion. They couldn't tolerate a pervert in their class. Ning objected to Chun that Zhang was not at all like she said. Chun retorted, if he is so honest, let him open the bag for inspection. Chun slapped the desk and asked Zhang if he was okay with being examined, right? She advised Ning to stay away from him. Who knows what dirty thoughts are wandering in his head? But if everything is okay, she will simply remain silent. Ning, indignant, asked Chun what was wrong with her. She and Zhang were just friends, nothing more. Ning said that since they had decided to poison Zhang, he should open the bag and put an end to these vile accusations. Zhang knew that she was, as always, too gullible. He understood that if the gang was acting so brazenly in front of the teacher, they had obviously set everything up in advance. But if he let them rummage through his bag, wouldn't he end up looking like a fool? Zhang decided it was time to teach them a lesson. Although he lost his skills after being revived, the Zishansel of heroic spirits returned with him. The hall, purified by the ancestor of Tao, which absorbed the myths and history of the three ancient kingdoms, was created to preserve the heritage of civilization. Legends said that its owner could cross time and space, calling upon heroes of the past and present to gain their wisdom and power. Among them are the god of Bao and Arrow Hao, the nine-tailed fox demon Deji, the hereditary demon Ming, and the goddess of birth San. All of them are his loyal servants. By gathering the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth and passing it through his soul, Zhang could open the Hall of Heroic Souls even in this world. The hall absorbs the emotions of people's hearts to summon the greatest heroes from all corners of the world. A full soul gauge in the heroic pillar allows a warrior who shares similar feelings to appear in its reality. Brave heroes, if any of you share his pain and remorse, Zhang begs you, answer the call and come to change this tragic fate. His cultivation level is too low, so he cannot summon them to their full extent and is limited to the abilities of the first stage. Zhang saw that the pillar of souls of repentance was full. For the sake of protecting the world, he lost a close friend, and this pain torments him. He longs for the three kingdoms to fall under the weight of his wrath. Zhang noticed that out of the 7 stars, only 6 were lit. The soul pillar will continue to absorb the obsessive thoughts and ideas of the world, opening up new places for warriors in the Hall of Heroic Souls, increasing its power. Zhang stated that the 6-tiered soul of the god appeared only once during the summoning of Buddha. Most likely, it was Zhen Yuan, the majestic god of heaven and the progenitor of earthly immortals. Suddenly, Zhang was shocked to see the first quasi-saint-level spirit. A shining sphere appeared before him. Zhen Yuan, a follower of Taoism, is a master of one of the greatest techniques, the magic sleeve. Zhen Yuan is even superior to Hong. All that remains is to master his power to perfection and act. Zhen was skeptical that a youth who couldn't even materialize a heroic soul dared to summon a deity. Zhang objected. What if wisdom is already within him? Even the highest beings of the three realms must submit to his will. Zhen called it impudent arrogance. He had mastered all the secrets of Taoism and ruled over earthly immortals. Zhang declared that in that case, he would summon Ji. At that moment, Gao, in a rage, ordered everyone to disperse. Gao grabbed Zhang's bag and barked that no matter how much you hit his stupid head, he doesn't understand his place. He accused Zhang of trying to take Ning away. This time he would make him walk in shame forever. Zhang asked with a grin, "Is it true?" Zhang approached the celestial Zhen, asking to borrow his power. Zhen quipped, "Use him to collect women's panties?" Zhang corrected, "In our time, that's called panties." Zhang used the first style of the magic sleeve, swaying flowers and fusion of trees. Gao raised his bag and shouted for everyone to watch. The truth about Zhang the pervert was about to be revealed, and he demanded his expulsion. Both girls gasped, but Ning suddenly became happy. The teacher told Gao to take a closer look. There was nothing in the bag. Gao stopped and asked, "How is that possible?" "They were there. How is that even possible?" "He definitely saw the evidence inside." The teacher said that it was enough to make noise and that everyone should return to their seats. Gao bowed his head and went to his seat. Zhang stopped him and said to Gao, "Who gave him permission to leave?" Gao asked, what kind of fucking orphan would talk to him in such a tone? Gao saw Zhang's face and thought that he ate something wrong today. What's with this strange behavior? The teacher told Zhang, "Let's be reasonable." Gao was only worried about his classmate and did it out of good intentions. Zhang said that the teacher was still young, and apparently there were already problems with her eyes. She asked him what he was talking about. Zhang said that Gao stole those things himself and decided to blame him. Is this virtue? Gao said, Zhang wants to call him a thief? Gao said that his stipend was more than 10,000. Why would he steal someone else's money? Zhang told him not to worry. They already knew about his financial well-being. And patting Gao on the shoulder, all the money and the girl's underwear began to pour out of his pockets. Everyone gathered there and were surprised by what they saw, while Zhen considered himself defiled. And he thought, how can he wash himself of this now? Gao was surprised and asked what the hell was going on. How did he get all these clothes? The guy said, which is quite expected from their pseudo-great master Gao. If he wants, they can both go to the store. Why steal someone else's? The guy started saying that they never thought that Gao was doing something like that. What a bastard he is. The guy said that none of them had any idea that he had such a hobby. I bet many of them were not pleased to see Qin Chun being bullied. And then the humanities student Zhang jumped on him and told him to answer where his underwear had gone. And then Gao couldn't take it anymore and punched the woman right in the jaw. He told her to fuck off and called her a disgusting cow. She should have looked at herself in the mirror first. The teacher asked Gao, is he crazy? Cultivation students are not allowed to use magic in normal training. He decided to go against the rules of the academy. Gao lost his temper and said that he was the law here. And then he attacked Zhang and told him to die. Zhang told Brother Zhen to lend him his strength this time. It seems like the situation has escalated. Zhen said that if they joined forces, they would show these weaklings where the crayfish hibernate. Since he has a mortal body that does not have a normal energy flow, he would use the magic sleeve to absorb all the audience's chi to turn it to his advantage. Then Ning told him not to dare and used a wind blow attack. The girl Chen Ning is a level 8 cultivator, the second best student among the first years, and is ranked 7A52 in the academy. And in that moment, she released her pen in a battle, and with the help of the wind, she thrust it into Gao's hand, which made him even more angry. Zhang saw what Ning did and was surprised because she had always been meek and shy, and this was the first time she showed her character. Zhang said, "Well then, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the performance of young Master Gao, called the Stinking Mouth." Zhang said that this slap was for all the girls whose panties he stole, and then he hit Gao. Zhang didn't stop and used a magic sleeve, swaying flowers, and tree connection. Gao became very ill, and at the moment of Zhang's magic, he began to spit the woman's underwear out of his mouth. The woman saw her underwear and said that it was them. She asked him why he had put them in his mouth. At this time, Zhang was crying and thought that they were fighting. But how did his technique collect even more pantaloons? And then the teacher also got angry and told everyone to shut up. Anyone who continues to be willful will end up with broken arms. And then he will be transferred to the disciplinary committee for punishment. And then Gao got scared and didn't want to go there. Gao raised his hands and said it wasn't him. Let the guys just believe him. Zhang must have set it all up to make him look guilty. Zhang said that he was the only one here, wriggling around like an eel in a frying pan, trying to justify himself. Did he think he could fool the others any longer? Zhang walked up to him and told Gao that it seemed like today was not his day. By the way, recalling the words of their great master, spoken earlier, how can such a shameless person and thief be allowed to lecture? He suggests to the teacher that he be expelled immediately. Gao said, "Chun, she doesn't want to explain herself?" They put both money and underwear in his bag together, quickly confirm his innocence. Chen couldn't stand it any longer and told Gao to stop lying. It was he who offered her 100,000 yuan to lie about Zhang, and he intended to exclude him only because he was hitting on his beloved Ning. Why involve her in his dirty business? Only he comes up with such lousy ideas. The guys asked them if they had deliberately come up with a plan to make Zhang a social outcast. Everyone heard. The couple had burned themselves. Zhang said he was hardly worth that amount, and here was one beauty in their group. Ning hit him and called him a flatterer. Ning thought, was old Chen always so cocky? And then she said, that was enough of their joke. Zhang asked her, what do you mean? Zhang thought that since things were getting serious, let's make it even more intense. He hugged Nian and said that from today on, he would follow her around. Zhang understood that in his previous life, he was to blame for Chen Ning's death due to his weakness. Then, a monster from an ancient tribe invaded the academy grounds without any warning, and although it was low-ranking, the students were unable to stop it. Everyone was shouting for them not to stay there and to run away. The teachers would come and deal with them. Everyone was looking for each other, but they couldn't find each other. And then the demon released all his power and began to destroy everything and kill each student one by one. Zhang ran towards the demon, but suddenly he stopped when he saw Ning. She was torn apart. Zhang couldn't help but shed a tear. These nightmares were the only thing he still remembered about his past, other than the Hall of Heroic Souls. In his new life, he will definitely put an end to him once and for all, rewriting the fate of Ning and the others. And of course, this also applies to the obstacles that hinder the growth of his cultivation. He would try to fix all of these. The teacher saw something and asked Zhang where he put his hands. Dare to harass a girl in class. Zhang said there was nothing wrong with that. How could that be considered harassment? Gao said to Ning, if he was holding her by force, let her wink. The teacher told Ning not to be afraid to tell the truth. On behalf of all the lecturers, she vows to personally ensure her complete protection. Ning thought about it and blushed, but she said it was okay. Zhang knew that it would serve as a good cover for his relationship with her. Then one of Gao's friends stood up for him, but Gao hit him on the arm and told him to shut up. Gao said that Zhang deliberately decided to play the situation to his advantage. Right? Great, a very good move. Until now, not a single living soul in the academy has tried to stand in his way. Now Zhang will have to hide behind Ning's skirt forever. He promises that he will never set foot here again, the pathetic coward. Zhang and Ning smiled, and he said, so be it. Just don't get too angry, or you'll get wrinkles. That night the guy was choking a guy and saying that Ning was a waste of time. Did she really hurt him that much? It was Liu Bao, the vice president of the Ancient Martial Arts Society. Martial Power Value 9, ranked 50th in the list of cultivation students. He had to repeat a year due to bad behavior. Gao took out a briefcase and said that he would give him $500,000 if he killed Zhang and caught him. Lu said to Gao, maybe he was joking? He was an ordinary student, not a killer. Moreover, she made him fall in love with her a long time ago and still remains a kind and sweet goddess in his heart. And so I'll have to push more dough. Gao didn't stand on ceremony and told him to offer. Lu said 800,000 and the kid would be gone. And he guaranteed that Chen Ning would jump into his bed the very next day. But the first part of the night is with her Gao, and on the second day, he will give her to him. At this time, Zhang was lying in the park and saying that this world is both ugly and beautiful. Jin told Zhao that he had acted too recklessly and impulsively. That guy had a very hot temper. He would definitely try to do everything to take revenge. Zhao said that his behavior had gotten on the nerves of many people, so why not be a jerk now and make fun of him? Zhan said that according to the teachings of Taoism, avoid the 3 troubles and 9 misfortunes. The same squabble and take are also included here. He is not yet strong enough for such strong opponents. Zhang said that he had already destroyed him before. His action protected many other guys that he had bullied. Zhang said that he might sound childish now, but he was definitely going to die soon. Zhen said that he remembered a monkey named Sun. He was as brave as Zhang. Then he captured him and tied him up in his temple at Zhuang, where he was tortured with the sacred whip for 3 days and 3 nights. Zhang smiled in surprise and said that he could already imagine this leather whip. Zhen asked how he dared to think of such shamelessness, but then Zhang realized that Zhen was right. After being reincarnated, he had lost his magical abilities. His current body was now very weak. Zhen said that, to be honest, he could confidently say that his teacher's cultivation level was not particularly high. Zhang asked, Zhen thinks it will take him a month to maintain superiority over this puny chicken. Zhang thought that the strength value of that asshole was only 5, while the monster that would invade the academy had a strength value of over 2,000. When he arrives, no one will be able to survive. It will be too late. Jin asked the boy, does he think he can become the reincarnation of the golden immortal de Luo? Zhang won't be able to defeat them without his help. And if he listens to him and trains hard for 5 years, he will definitely become better than him. The strength of each stage, Zhang said, has a significant gap between them. If he can reach this stage of complete perfection, he will be able to soar in the sky. Jin said that the guy would regret it later. He managed to learn the technique of the unified chi of heaven and earth sutra only with the help of fragments of writings. Zhang said that the stars travel in the sky 365 days a year. Let him reveal to him the art of primordial chaos. Zhen saw that this child did not absorb spiritual energy, but in the name of the ruler of heaven and earth, he forced it to obey him. That's right. This can only be achieved through primordial chaos. How did the treatises of the forefather, Hong, end up in the hands of an ordinary youth? Zhang said that the first stage of foundation creation has been completed. Zhen said that in just 10 minutes, some boy managed to pass the first stage. But even if he can do something, you can't do much with a mortal's body. Apparently, forcibly controlling the academy's aura has reached its limit. Zhang said that then he would act more seriously from now on, and then he immediately began to continue. Seeing such strength and power, Zhen asked the guy if he was even human, and then the guys also stopped at what they saw. Zhang said, just a little more. He's asking you to lend him a little more of your divine power. Zhen said he's the damn bastard, #1 in the entire world. Zhang rose into the air and shouted to the magic sleeve of the second style. Energy of the mountains and rivers, give him much strength. But at that moment, the hurricane began to capture the area more. It was Zhang's magic. The guy shouted at the girl to get out of there. God appeared to humanity. And then the guy said that he forgot a little because he doesn't have a girlfriend. Nin thought, that silhouette of a hurricane, why does it seem so familiar to her? The teacher immediately saw that this was the mastery of heaven and earth. Could it be that an outstanding talent had descended upon them? Could it be a student from the academy? She said, "The disciplinary committee, head to the school playground immediately. They will definitely find out who wields such power." The hurricane was visible from the other end of the city, and the girl said that it was in the direction of Tianquan City. Has there ever been a cultivation genius in her Dong Empire? An hour later, Zhang was still floating in the sky, and Zhun said that these were all the initial levels. Could he really have broken through that far? Landing on the ground, Zhang decided to test his strength, and with a wave of his hand, he split the stone into pieces. He said that by purifying the essence, renewing and restoring the muscles and bone marrow, now the palm of one's hand is enough to break stones and split gold. This is a sign of successful consolidation at the stage of creating the foundation. How cool it is to have your powers again. Then Zhun came up and told Zhang that he was curious about the strange object on his wrist. Zhang said that this was a gift from Ning, a progress watch that was only given to students from the Cultivation Development Department. Since his strength is now 9, dealing with Gao will be a piece of cake. However, if you run into the real geniuses of the Academy, these points will not be enough. As for the Hall of Souls, ever since the incident with GA in the auditorium, he had continued to absorb people's desires and feelings. Once the pillar scale is filled with obsessive thoughts from the surrounding world, one of the immortals who is obsessed with such ideas is randomly summoned to the earth. In this scenario, he can receive new significant enhancements to his current skill. Zhun said that it turns out that the Hall of Heroic Souls was originally a sacred relic that contained all the myths and legends of the past and present in accordance with the laws of heaven. In the illusion, the creation of an artifact based on my history, he was able to summon it only thanks to remorse, used as an obsessive desire. Zhang said that as Zhun, for example, responded to his remorse, he feels the same and decided to come. Perhaps the reason for the call of the saints. At that moment, Zhang saw Professor Shui arrive with the disciplinary committee. She asked, how could those terrifying qi fluctuations suddenly disappear into thin air? Ning said to search the area. They can't afford to lose such an incredible talent. Zhang said that fortunately, the primordial chaos technique can hide a person's energy and allow one to continue to disguise himself as a mortal. On the way home, Zhun told Zhang that his teacher had a truly sinister aura about her. Zhang said that she was the dean of the cultivation department at the academy, nicknamed the Devil. The other teachers were all her younger sisters and brothers. Zhun knew that something was definitely wrong here. That woman's rage seemed to carry the death of at least 1,000 lives. It was unlikely that a simple teacher could possess such energy. Zhang said that when he was 6 years old, he was often bullied by other orphans. After running away and wandering for a long time, he almost died of exhaustion, but Ning found him and decided to take him home. In the end, they became a big, happy family. Even though they don't have much money, he is glad that he got to them. Zhun said that he feels a very strong flow of qi near the door of his house. Zhang said, it's the head of the disciplinary committee, Jiang Yu. Does she know about his progress in cultivation? Zhun told him to listen carefully. They were talking about him. Secret style, sensitive hearing, shun phone. Jiang asked, how is Zhang Qin better? Does she really think he is better than her? Ning told her to calm down. Jiang said that Ning deliberately accepted his confession in front of the group today so that she would get rid of him. Ning said, of course not. Jiang said, has gender become more important to her than true love now? Ning said that there can be nothing between them. Ning said that she was a representative of the disciplinary committee, and if the details were to come out, her reputation would forever be tainted. And then the guys were surprised. Zhun said, is this really the same passionate love of lilies from the legend? Zhang said that his list of competitors was now replenished with Jiang Yu. Ning told her that she now has a boyfriend, so promised to behave with restraint and propriety in the future. Zhun said they look very beautiful together. I guess they're expecting a new addition to their family soon. Zhang said he should spit and be a little more lenient with old Zhang. Zhang went into his room and said that everything was the same as in his memory. He and his dad found this table at a flea market. Ning begged her father to buy her a game console when she became one of the top students in cultivation. She later gave it to him as a gift. Zhang Deg said that his mother also did not allow him to throw away the toys. And then his father came in and told him that his parents wanted to tell him something. Zhang was surprised and understood that when you strive to rise up, you don't notice the passage of time. 100 years can end up becoming the blink of an eye. Father said that they knew how he had always envied little Ning because she was studying cultivation, and he himself dreamed of studying in the same department as her. They cannot afford to pay the registration fee, which is why they force him to be shot and suffer. Zhang said that his father had a heart condition, and they had been saving money for a long time for his operation. In his past life, this amount allowed him to attend the necessary lectures. But his father hid the fact that the disease was progressing and died soon after a year. His father told him why he should worry about his old man's problems. Let him take everything. His old man was a worker and his mother was a baker, neither of whom were particularly bright or cultured. Zhang told the parents that he knew how hard it was for them to earn money to feed them all. He would not take them under any circumstances. Jin asked him why he didn't tell them that he had already fully completed the first level of cultivation. This stage is comparable to many top university students. Zhang said that he just didn't want to shock anyone. It was better to first find a way to make some money to cure his father's illness and start studying to become an immortal. Zhan said that he just has frequent heart attacks. I think the lowest medicinal elixir will be enough. However, this art is now virtually lost due to the lack of alchemist wizards. Spiritual pills have become a vital resource on the path to enlightenment. Even the strongest one costs hundreds of thousands of yuan. Zhang asked what was the name of the ancestor and creator of alchemy. Zhen said it was Zhen Yuanzi. Zhang was delighted and shouted that he was fabulously rich. And then Zhen saw something under the table and asked what it was. And then Zhen pulled out 2 covers from under the bed. Zhang saw this and shouted like crazy for him not to open them. Ning walked into the room and asked Zhang why he had refused his parents' money. Was it boyish pride that had taken over? And then she quickly left, closing the door behind her. She said that she apologized for intruding at an inopportune time. Zhang disgraced himself and shouted at her that she should wait for him. Everything is not as it seems to her. Zin said that it was a very good book, and he liked it very much. While Zhang and Ning sat on the sofa and looked at each other. Zhang understood that Ning was already working hard to earn money to support her family, and she still had to find excuses to get out of it. Zhang said he still couldn't believe Jiang Yu was stalking her. Ning said no, he had gotten it all wrong. Zhang asked her why she was embarrassed. On the contrary, it is good to be loved by others and receive various signs of attention. Ning said that thanks to his wit and resourcefulness back in class when he publicly staged a courting fight, she would finally be able to get rid of those 2 little devils, Jie and Jiang. And then Zhang thought that today, little Ning officially accepted her confession. Zhang said honestly, glad that Gao finally got what he deserved. He was ready to rage and throw. Now the others will definitely believe how rotten his nature is. Ning said, why did it never occur to her to come up with such an easy solution to the problem of just taking the wood out from under the pot? What do you mean? Zhang asked. Ning said that from now on, Zhang is her boyfriend, which means that her studies and cultivation will be peaceful. And then Zhen read the book to the end and said who these fake scribbles belonged to. Zhang said, how could he not have such a wonderful idea? After all, they grew up together from the cradle. Of course he would agree to help his little sister. Ning said that he had seen her ugly face at different stages of her growing up. Would anyone like such horror? Zhang said it right. They are family and get along very well. Accuse. And the truth is, he can't imagine their relationship. Ning asked if everything was okay, because there was too much blood already. Zhang said it's okay, guys just have days just like women when they feel sick. Ning said that it turns out that girls and boys are similar in this regard. Zhang told her not to worry. When she was asked who her boyfriend was, she could say his name without hesitation. He would try to solve any problem. Ning left the room and said that apparently she was wasting her time with strange thoughts. It hurt so much. What was she thinking about? Jin got angry and asked Zhang what was wrong with him. Wasn't that dream of being her umbrella fulfilled now? Zhang said to Jin, "Can they go tomorrow to shoot somewhere?" Jin asked him what he had in mind again. Zhang said that he wants to get rich and hit on some hottie and enjoy the good things in life. Arriving at the place, Jin asked, "Is there really an elixir pharmacy here? And who is this Su family?" Zhang said that their clan runs an underground black market in Tian City. Even a less talented alchemist would easily become a venerable one. Jin asked him if he had decided to profit from him. Her opinion didn't matter now. The guards came to the door and told him to get out of here. This is the main sales point of the Su family. Commoners are not allowed. Zhang didn't talk to him and used the third level of the Foundation creation stage, Combat Power 3. The guard approached Zhang and asked if he was deaf or something, or should he lend him a helping hand. A group of guys were saying that something was about to start, a fun show. The girl called Zhang baby and told him to go home. Zhang grabbed the guard's hand and said, "So he's an ordinary mortal, right?" And then the guard didn't expect it, as he was already on the ground. Zhang didn't spare him and slammed him into the ground. The guy said that the fourth level guard was defeated in a couple of seconds. The girl said that Zhang is so young and already stands at the ninth step. Perhaps he is a young master of some famous clan? Zhang asked the guard if he could come in now. The guard knew that if the guy had hit her harder, he would have died already. The guard thanked him for his kindness and apologized to Zhang for not recognizing him. Jin realized that people respected cultivators for their skills. When he entered, the man shouted that he was selling a miraculous pill that restored qi in the body, and only 2 million yuan each. Buyers must hurry. The last 3 potions that boost mana for a whole month. Jin said that these were simply low-grade goods that did not make it into the first class. If they were in the past now, he would never feed his familiars such crap. Zhang searched and shouted. What did he find? If he made a pill from it, his father's illness would go away forever. The seller said that the little brother has a keen eye. This is a select rhizome. Jin asked Zhang what the salesman said. Is their master a complete idiot or something? Zhang said that in their time, it was different. The seller told Zhang not to delay. It currently costs 300,000 yuan, and it will cost another 300,000 yuan to hire an alchemist. Jin said, what if it doesn't work? Zhang said that they charge the same price as the ingredients and don't bear any responsibility. Jin was surprised and said, isn't this direction an easy money-making area where there is no way to lose profits? The seller took the money and said that he was not mistaken about him when he first saw him at the threshold here, and his gift of reading people. But then the seller said that it would be better not to joke with him in such a way, otherwise he would suffer serious consequences. The seller didn't like it and said that he would report him for trying to get a free ride. And then she shouted to the whole market that they should not let this poor man leave. And then Fu Wan, one of the 5 tigers of the clan, came up. Fu asked, is it the puppy that is causing trouble? And then the watch told Zhang that the Qi cultivation stage, combat power, is 15. The difference in strength with the enemy is too great. Jin asked Zhang not to act recklessly like usual. His level of enlightenment is higher than his by a whole realm. Zhang said that this guy dares to talk to him in such a tone. A pathetic fighter with 18 points? Let him call the head of the family here. The seller saw this and said that it was just arrogance. Fu looked at him angrily and said that, you see, he wanted to see the owner. Fu asked Zhang who he thought he was. Zhang said he was a second-rank alchemist in Tian City, in addition to the master of their clan. People started laughing and saying that this guy really thinks he's an ace. An 18-year-old wizard, that's just funny. The salesman said that Zhang was crazy and he would try to explain it in a popular way. But at the stage of creating the foundation, the cultivator still lacks knowledge. Only by reaching the level of qi development can one fully use magic. For example, create pills, control fire. Fu said that, moreover, alchemy as an art was lost many centuries ago. Even they only have second-rate skills. Zhang told Fu that he advised him to broaden his horizons, because the eyes do not always see the truth. Fu asked him what he had said, and then Zhang got angry and threw the flower, calling him an asshole in response, because it was time to play big. Zhang said, If he wanted to make a pill, why would he need to use a pottery kiln and ordinary spiritual fire? Taking hold of Zhang began to say that the sky is fire, the earth is a hearth, and the alchemy of creation is a miracle. At the moment of cooking, the flour began to deform into a ball and then became a pill. Then Zhang used the burner of the greatest illuminating flame. The seller was surprised and couldn't believe his eyes. And then he realized that the guy wasn't lying to him. People saw that Zhang succeeded on the first try. With such a success rate, he can really be considered a second tier. Fa said no, even if the wisest magician took on the matter, if it was not possible to achieve 100% processing, let alone. Fa grabbed his hand and said, to make potions without using a furnace and fire? Even a 10th rank master doesn't have such skill. This is of course incredible, but it is just a pathetic trick to test the scam now. Zhang asked them if they had ever seen counterfeit pills worth 2 million. At this point, Fa remained silent. Zhang said that Fa took the Ziyang medicine 13 days ago, increasing his stage breakthrough. However, after a dozen or so days, it began to decline. Fa asked the boy how he knew about this. Zhang said that his real influence was indeed excellent. However, the manufacturing process must be carried out by a competent cultivator, because not everyone is able to provide the grass with the necessary cooling. Zhang does not advise them to process it slowly. It is better to find a cool room so that the properties do not disappear. Fa was convinced and thanked the guy. Zhang said that now he had shown enough to meet their leader. Fa said yes, and called him a respected magician alchemist. They were too blind. They begged forgiveness for their ignorance. Fa thought that the 18-year-old master was one of the few who was capable of such miracles in the entire Eastern Dragon State. Fa shouted to the guards, "Why are they standing like tin soldiers? Let them bring Miss here." And then Miss came and said that there was no need to scream like that. She saw everything from start to finish with her own eyes. Miss asked Arun if he was trying to entertain the guests or something, and then everyone bowed and greeted her. Arun apologized to the mistress. Because of this guy's past actions, he has lost all manners. Miss told him to be quiet. Even if he behaved arrogantly, there is nothing shameful about it. After all, not everyone you meet is an outstanding alchemist. Miss asked if she could find out his name and where he studied, and then the watch told him that the other side was 2 stages higher than him. Jin said that this girl's skill was enough to beat up 10 people with enlightenment like Fu's. Zhang was delighted that the beautiful viper who ran all the black markets in the city had finally appeared. Suyun. The guy said he was Zhang, a student at Tianchuan Academy. His master was very demanding, so he wouldn't tell him his name. And then Zhang took a proud pose, and the seller said that he was a show-off, and he did not support his self-confidence. Fu said that his tongue is very long. It needs to be shortened urgently. Xiu told him not to be angry. He is second rank. Zhang knew that no one would believe him if he said that he was under the protection of the Eastern Dragon Empress. Jishi? Xiu said that she apologized for the swear words she used against him, Sacred Master. She is the young mistress of the family, Su. Her father is seriously ill. Why does she now hold the title of clan head? And then Zhang was surprised and thought. And then Xiu told her to hold on and not to splash out her anger. Although he is a small thing, he is already able to compete with his father in creating an elixir. Zhang asked if she could pay the full amount for the herb. Xiu said that even as a wizard, he was as poor as a church mouse. Zhang said that money is his first priority. By the way, she's a baby. Maybe they can eat some delicious rice together? Xiu said that she was paying. The salesman said that as soon as the young man entered, he felt an aura that was different from the others. Zhang knew she was truly rich since she gave 300,000 without hesitation. Xiu said that they always welcome outstanding craftsmen. Zhang asked her what it was about. Xiu said that it was enough to do it only occasionally, and the Su clan would give him a bonus for his services. Zhang told her that any whim for their money. Zhan said that he was the holy ancestor of the earth. How could he have ended up stuck here with him, a stub? Xiu said that as long as they were willing to cooperate with them, let him take her gold card. There's 10 million yuan on this card. Consider it a gift. Zhang asked, is a second-class alchemist really that expensive? Zhen told him not to lose his prestige in front of the femme fatale. Zhang thought 10 million was a huge amount of money. Xiao apologized for her rudeness. A sage like him certainly didn't need such pennies. Zhang grabbed the card and said that one should not look a gift horse in the mouth. He humbly accepted her gifts. The salesman said that his show-off had not diminished, but now everything was as befits a master. Zhen smiled and asked him to guess whose merit this was. Fa said that since they had settled everything, he would go and try his method of processing the potion. The young alchemist would now rely on their care. Zhang said that he completely forgot to mention that although that method is effective, a person may feel nauseous for a couple of days. Zhang said, and of course, he didn't just take the card away and wave his finger and use his magic. Xiao said that these are high-level raw materials. Master, why does he need it? Zhen asked the guy, does he want to make those pills? Zhang said it right. Although they are only second class, they were popular in ancient times, and the percentage of successful creation is much lower. Zhen asked the guy, is he kidding? He invented this product himself, and he has the right to do it. Using all their strength, they transformed this place into something magical. And in the end, Zhang used the transformation method. The boys were surprised and said that they had never seen such an elixir before. After such a long time since the illness of the head of the Su family, Xiao was also surprised by such magic and said that it was a spiritual elemental pill. Even his father couldn't create it. Pradeep jumped up and said that the clan had spent hundreds of millions of dollars on creating them, but nothing had worked out. Xiao said that the guy really is the best. How lucky they are to have him. She can't believe her eyes. The boy is a real emperor of alchemy. Zhang said that now he wants to return the favor. Let Xiao take his gift. Xiao said that's such an incredible thing. For her too? Zhang said that they still lack the skill to transform the perfect yuan potion, and this potion will smooth out the inhibition. Xiao said that nothing less was expected from a sage. With one word and movement, he showed everyone the truth. Xiao told him that it was not worth it and that they did not deserve such a generous gift. Zhang took his finger and shut her mouth. Zhang said that gradually she would feel an improvement in her threefold spiritual principle. Perhaps in 3 days, she will be able to fully move on to the third stage, purification of the soul. Looking at the map, Zhang remembered that Xiao had said that from now on they were connected by a business relationship. Zhen said that when he saw Su for the first time, he had a bold thought. Zhang told him to throw it aside. Zhen said that tempting her step by step, giving false hopes and promises, was that his plan? Zhang said that to be honest, it was... Zhang said that all people love with their ears when they are treated kindly and courteously. Therefore, a few words are enough for a person to trust someone. Zhang said that in order to counter Gao with his powerful circle, he would have to gain support, right? By first using the art of primordial chaos, the soul nodes begin to open, absorbing the qi of the heaven and earth around it. Zhen said that, however, the ascension speed using it was much faster than that of normal spells. Zhang said that today, at the black market in the pharmacy, the pillars absorbed a huge amount of emotion. But the biggest surge was when the guard was on edge. Jin told him to try to prepare well, because Gao would not back down so easily, and the rematch was just around the corner. Very soon the pillar will be filled to the end, and another soul of the god will be called to the earth, and he must definitely protect. And then he remembered that she had told him to be a good boy and get out of here. Zhang said that if only one could become immortal. But what would change then? The teacher said that he was too soft and decent. That's why he lost. Even after receiving the imperial throne, he couldn't fix anything. Zhang begged her to give him another chance to protect the others. If he had to resort to the dirtiest means, he would do whatever she wanted. And then Zhang suddenly stood up from the worst dream. While Zhen was telling Pikachu to launch 100 volts at the enemy, Zhang said it was the same dream about the past again. The previous life, countless sleepless nights, the desperate cries of Ning and the Eastern Lady Shi, the piles of corpses of innocent people. All those images are imprinted in his memory and have turned into nightmares that torment him. They're the only thing that came with him to the real world besides the Hall of Souls. Now that he has a powerful artifact, he uses it to its fullest. And then screams were heard from behind the door. Neen screamed for them to leave her alone, but her mother told her to be careful. Then Zhang came down and asked what happened. Mother told Zhang that everything was fine, let him go to his room. And then the guy said, "Isn't this loser her little brother? He seems to be an adult already, but he still hides behind his mother and sister's skirt." The guy was telling Ning that he was repeating it for the last time. Their father owed them 200,000 for the treatment. If they didn't pay off the debt today, they could forget about the store. Mother said that their interest rates were somehow abnormal. Could 50,000 suddenly turn into 200? The guy said that he had already named the exact amount, and that it was not up for discussion. In these areas, no one dares not give back what they took. Neen said, "Was father sick? Why didn't they tell you anything?" Mother said they worked to provide for them. The guy told them not to expect to get out of it, just because their daughter was a student at the Faculty of Cultivation. The guy said, "Why the hell are his people making a fuss? It's better to let them smash the premises if they don't want to fork out. Or, if the cutie spends one night with them and serves them well, then they will repay the debt, and all will be forgiven." The guy said how smart his boss is. He's never tried young girls. What does the hottie think about it? The guy said that otherwise the rumors would instantly spread throughout the academy and the brother and sister would be expelled. What a pity. And then Zhang asked him, "Is he looking for death?" Ning stopped him and told him not to be stupid. Even though Chu is about his level in combat power, he has connections with the Su clan, it's better not to get involved with them. Chu said that's great. They know. Their group is on par with the Li family as the most influential people in Tian. If he feels like killing someone, he won't have any problems. He'll crush anyone like an ant. Zhang said he didn't give a damn about them, and then he realized he needed to be more restrained. Zhang said, "How much is needed there?" Now his friend will bring them. Chu said that the guy decided to show off. Students do not have such sums. Zhang said that he just doesn't carry money with him, or is he afraid that the guy will run away? Chu told him to act. Zhang picked up the phone and dialed the black market guard Fu. He told him that he wanted to call him for a meeting regarding a matter. And then Fu shouted at everyone to be quiet. An important guest was calling. He told Zhang that if he needed anything, he should just ask. He doesn't even know how to thank him. The elixir worked like a charm. Zhang said that a bully named Chu, whose father and brother have a loan, broke into his place. He says to give him the interest too, otherwise his gang will cause a pogrom. I'm already sending the coordinates. Can he help? Chu said that then let him give them 400,000. Mother said that they only borrowed 50,000. Chu said, whatever he says, that's what they'll pay. Zhang asked Fu, did he hear? He's already raised the rate. Come quickly. Fu told him not to worry. He understood what was going on. And then he told the guys they were leaving. There was work coming up. Fu couldn't understand what kind of oaf would have gotten it into his head to touch the VIPs of their clan, to destroy the house of the best alchemist, that is. The mother asked Zhang, who is this friend, and why is he willing to lend him so much money? Chu said that it was commendable. The offspring had more brains than his own parents. Chu thought that once they shook the money out of them, they would try to take this fairy-like chick by force. And then F.A. came to the store with a crowd of people and opened the door. The blondie and everyone were surprised and said to the boss. Chu said it was Mr. Fu from the black market pharmacy. What brought him here? F.A. asked him. Who is he? Chu said he was his little brother's little brother. Little Chu. Fu said he didn't remember and told him to get out of the way. F.A. approached Zhang and called him master. Zhang pointed his finger at him and told him not to make things up. F.A. asked Zhang if he was okay. Zhang said yes, but he wanted each of their arms to be broken. Chu told Fu to listen to him. He had no idea they were friends. Zhang stopped him and told him to stop. Zhang told Fu not to break anything in the store. Fu looked at him and told him not to worry. Fu couldn't hold back and gave this Chu a good beating. And he told his men to deal with that couple too. Let them know their place. Zhang told his mother and Ning that everything was as they asked, but he didn't want to watch them being mocked. Ning asked, is Fu from the Su family? How did he manage to get acquainted with a mafia bigwig? Zhang said they met when he used to work as a courier. Brother Fu saw his hard work and decided to take him under his wing. Fu said that he wouldn't allow his friend to be bullied by a bunch of freaks. And here he hoped that the lady wouldn't be angry. Nina asked, "Really?" Mother said that in any case, isn't it too much to beat people half to death? Fu told her not to panic. Those three idiots were still in the process of creating a foundation. For them, a broken arm was just a minor scratch. And then, having beaten everyone from Fu, he told Brother Zhang that everything was ready. And what were we going to do with them next? Zhang asked Chu. He wanted 400,000, right? Should he ask Fu to give it to him? Chu apologized and said that he didn't know about their friendship. Beaten, Chu got down on his knees and said that they would write off their debts. And they would do it especially for them. Zhang said okay. Let him consider his offer accepted. However, he was the one who had bullied his family, and he wasn't going to let it go. Zhang told Chu that in the future he should not dare to come here even one step. They all understood, I hope. Chu said that they all understood it. Fu said that if that was all, he would go too. And then Zhang said that he almost forgot something. Zhang told his mother that he should give the medicine that Brother Fu had made for him earlier to his father, and he would recover immediately. The mother asked how they could take such a valuable thing. Zhang told her not to worry. He just decided to take out a loan. He would definitely pay it off after graduating from the academy. Mother said that now father will finally not suffer. Mr. Fu is really a good man, but they must definitely return the money. But then Zhang saw Ning looking at him and asked if he had something on his face. Ning said it was just his imagination. It was as if Zhang had matured and grown up. Zhang asked, and in what place? Ning said that he was acting like a fool again. Then Zhang entered the room and said that in the end he couldn't rely on him all the time. Absorbing the guard and greed of Chu and his minions, the pillars shone even brighter. The next summoning is just around the corner. Zhang said that his strength is already higher than all the first years combined. Why should he worry? Zhang said that his true rivals were not children at all, and that a monster attack would occur in a month. Art of Water. At his command, let the black dragon of the springs appear in their world. Let him seize the monster. Having gathered all the elements into one instead of one, they were ready to fight to the end, because this was their last chance. The girl Qin said that the lightning of the firmament would turn into a divine sword, the great spirit Di, and bring down his fury on the unclean. And at that moment, they thought it had worked. And then there was a crash, and a demon came out of the wall. The old man said that even a combined attack could not break through his defense. And then the monster used the space rupture. At that moment, the rector was directly attacked, and Jiang saw it and was unable to save him at that moment. Jiang said that his magic was capable of destroying the planet's matter, and then the monster turned around and attacked the girl. Zhang said that there was hope of winning if he had to fight a lower demon with 200 points of combat power. Jin said that he should think about it himself. Zhang said that he and the undead tribes appeared in ancient times. Maybe he knows a way to deal with them? Zhen said it all started when Pangu created the world. Zhang said to be brief. He was a creator god who fell dead after creating the heavens and the earth, and his soul was eventually transformed into the three supreme gods. The sorcerer's power took the form of 4 demon emperors, and the physical shell, in turn, turned into 12 ancestors of descendants who entered the clan of monsters. Zhang said that Zhen means that their greatest strength lies in their direct relationship with him. Zhen said it right. For example, he is a particle of the soul power of a pamuk, absorbed by a ginseng tree, and then reincarnated as a Sayavya. His roots are second only to the bloodline of the 3 immortals. He was fortunate enough to reincarnate with a huge amount of soul chi, so he became the head of all other cultivators and gods. All demons were born from his flesh, and therefore possess eternal life and abnormal power. In their eyes, the human race was a lower species of animals until they developed their own extraordinary methods to resist them. What did Zhang ask? Zhang said there were only 3. First, you need to find a sacred artifact that is strong enough to pierce the monsters' bodies. It is also worth finding a way to counteract the opponent's skills with nature. Secondly, we must call upon as many of the greatest souls as possible to unite their knowledge with our own. Thirdly, the combat power must be at least 900. This is the 9th level of enlightenment cultivation. Zhang said that doing so much in a month seemed impossible. Jin said that the Gao Yaigua gang was a very serious threat. Zhang said that he was sure that they would not be able to do anything and would stop halfway. Technology is primordial chaos. It gets better when more people come to die. Their actions make his combat power grow faster. Also, negative emotions will become an ideal energy boost for the spirit pillars. Jin sat down at the computer in the evening and said that only the emperors of past dynasties possess that skill. So whose reincarnation is this boy? The next day at the academy, during class, Zhang thought that cultivating through meditation took a very long time. If he wants to really advance with the primordial chaos technique and improve it, he needs to focus on real fights. But who should he spend it with? Zhang thought, looking at Gao and his flock of sheep friends. And then a guy from behind told him that things were bad. He heard that Gao had paid a large sum of money to some dangerous hooligan from the ancient martial arts society to finish him off. Zhang smiled and asked, "Is this true?" The guy said that they had gathered in full force to distract Ning and attack unexpectedly. Zhang said, "Isn't it wonderful?" The guy was surprised and asked why his reaction was so strange. But then, unexpectedly, the teacher threw chalk right at him during a conversation during the lesson. The teacher told Zhang to answer the question asked, "Who is the center of power in the Eastern Dragon State?" And then the guy started saying that Zhang was unlucky again. "I wonder if his punishment will last until the morning or the whole day this time." Zhang said, "It is naturally the #1 sect called the Hidden Dragon Pavilion. It inherited the ancient Taoism from the 3 sovereigns. Any government and immortal organizations of all cities, as well as punitive bureaus, fall directly under their jurisdiction, who is also called the Holy Maiden of the Pavilion." And then he thought, what's she doing now? Zhang said to the teacher, "Maybe Diana could ask something more difficult." She was surprised that he actually listened attentively to the lectures. Gao said that he would let him shine one last time, because when gym class started and the ancient martial arts club did ho, there would be no trace of him left. Zhang said that Gao and his gang were wandering around. The perfect option. How could such a thought not have occurred to him right away? During physical education class, the teacher said that the rules are as usual, move freely. The teacher thought that now is the age of cultivators. Why do we need sports at all? Ning told Zhang to go play tennis with her. And then the girl told Ning not to invite a bad person. Ning told her to stop being rude. He is her friend, with whom she has grown up since she was a baby. Zhang refused and said that he preferred to watch ball games, not to be part of them. Ning said that he was again blabbering on about the ravings of a madman. And then the boys watched the girls running and playing tennis. But Zhang was also looking at Ning's chest. The guy told Zhang to stop with his perversions and let him watch tennis normally. Then some guys came up behind him and asked Zhang if he knew why they were there. It was Wang Tao, one of the strongest freshmen. Zhang took his hand away and told him to leave. Can't he see that he's enjoying playing tennis? The guy asked him, is he really Tao's brother? One of the 3 leaders of the club? Tao said, so Zhang is watching the ball? Then Tao attacked him and said that he would improve Zhao's view. But Zhang suddenly stood up and dodged the attack. Zhang asked him, he's Gao's watchdog, right? I see you're asking for trouble. Don't anger him and distract him from watching sports. And Ning saw everything and asked what was going on with them. The girl said that it looked like these were the same bandits who were obsessed with fighting. Now, their pervert from the group will definitely get it in the neck. Ning said, why are they pestering him? I need to go find out. But then the guy attacked Ning and asked, does she want to protect Zhang? You better worry about yourself first. Then the girl told Ning to dodge. Ning noticed this and put up her defense against him. Ning, a first-year student, is ranked 52nd in the Academy's Immortal rankings, with a combat power of 8. The attacker, Liu, a second-year student, is ranked 50th in the Academy's Immortal rankings, with a combat power of 9. Ning said that he was one of the 3 leaders of the ancient martial arts society, Liu Bao, She knew that the attack was too unexpected. Fortunately, she managed to avoid being hit. The girl said that Ning was bleeding. Ning told her not to come near and not to get involved in it. Ning thought that this was less like a disagreement between students, since the other side was very prepared. Did Gao really get hurt and put his hand in this? Damn, Zhang is in danger too right now. Lu decided to attack her and said to Ning, does she have time to worry about others? Sometime earlier, the teacher had told Zhang to show at least some common sense. Zhang asked, what did someone decide to talk about common sense? The teacher said that in any case, he and explanations are sometimes needed for readers to understand the whole picture of what is happening. Zhang told the boys that they were the only ones here. Where was their esteemed Gao, the coward? The guy standing next to him thought that this time they were really finished. Ta asked Zhang if he thought he was worthy of his presence, and then several guys stood in front of him. Zhang said that their little rat is capable of doing the right thing. He wants to kill him, but he doesn't get into trouble and doesn't get his hands dirty. The guy told Zhang not to be afraid. They had been friends for over 10 years since elementary school. Even if he got beat up, he would share his fate. But then Zhang saw that Ning was also attacked, and then he became even more angry because he needed to stand up for her. He knew he had to get this all sorted out quickly and get them out his way. Gao attacked him and told him not to blame the tough guys for their ruthlessness. He asked for trouble himself, but then Zhang took a bat and hit him, telling him to shut up. Zhang thought about it and decided that he would try to transfer the mana into a baseball bat. The blows would be equal to flying stones. Ta pointed and said that Zhang had attacked him from behind. No military dignity. Zhang said that human life is too short, so why choose the shortest path to one's own destruction? Zhang was angry and said loudly that he didn't care whether that snot-nosed brat showed up or not. He would first deal with the pack of mongrels and then go looking for him. The guy got scared and asked Zhang why he was whipping him with so much mana, and then the guy was surprised too. He said, wasn't Zhang a dumb loser in this life, incapable of cultivation at all? The guys asked if they had problems with their eyes. How could that fool Zhang have so much qi? And what element does it belong to? I've never seen such a color before, and a watch is not able to measure its fighting power. The enemy said that no matter where he was lucky enough to get a bunch of energy from, he would always remain trash. Attacking, Zhang said, do today's villains really only have enough brains for empty insults? The guy dodged the attack and said that he was one of the best cultivators among freshmen, but he couldn't even touch his clothes. Zhang attacked him again and asked the guy, is he sure? And then the guy was very surprised by Zhang's speed. Zhang told the boy that his smug smile was especially charming, but would soon be ruined. The boys were surprised that Zhang had defeated one of the 3 martial arts club leaders, and one who had the 8th level of the foundation creation stage to boot. How could he have the strength? Ta told Zhang that he would definitely kill him today, and shouting to his guys who had stopped, he ordered them to go fight. But whoever breaks this scum's leg will pay 10,000. He used his dirty tricks on Brother Tao. Zhun shouted at Zhang to be careful. There are too many of them. Let him use the abilities of the Soul Hall. And then Zhang gathered his strength and said that they could act in the first style of artifact mastery, the single soul of Zhun. Zhang saw that his body merging with the spirit of the saint would allow him to display true omnipotence. After throwing the bat in the air, Zhang began to use his magic and attacked with the second style of the magic sleeve, the aura of Gorarek. The boys didn't realize that they would meet their end that day, and as they ran to attack, Zhang attacked them in return with his magic. He did not spare anyone, and with his own strength he knocked out everyone who attacked him. Soon they were all beaten. The boys were surprised that the stupid Zhang actually won. 7 people attacked him and couldn't even scratch him. The guy said, is Zhang really a wolf in sheep's clothing? Zhang is too cool apparently. Why'd he hide his talents? Zhang said that the opponents were weak and the qi had only increased slightly. It was not enough to break through the 9th level of the first stage. Zhang told Ta that he kind of ordered them to break his legs, right? Ta thought he was definitely that idiot Zhang. Ta rushed and said that it was time for him to leave. Zhang would not kill him today. Once Brother Pao finished with Ning, his death would come too. Zhang was angered by this, and taking his aura, he released all his power. Ta ran away, shouting for him not to do this. Zhang said that one should not underestimate the rage of ordinary people who are desperately trying to survive. Ning saw this attack of the enemy and was able to dodge, because with such a force of impact, it is capable of breaking all bones and a person will die on the spot. Ning said that the first wind qi into various objects can accelerate them to the maximum speed of flight. The guy did not dodge the attack and took it upon himself. He said that his body had been trained by 13 mentors. The muscles had become true steel. Let her shoot her leaves as much as she wants, but scratches won't stop him. And then Ning decided to use her clones, and the enemy did not hit her. She understood that although he was not as fast as her, he was trying to keep up. And this takes too much mana. Sooner or later, he will run out of it. The teacher said earlier that although the technique of the 13 mentors is strong, it is also not entirely ideal. But all Ning needed was to find a weak spot, and then she decided to take matters into her own hands and attack. The guy told Ning that he had already told her her measly flowers weren't enough to deal adequate damage. And then the guy decided to attack and said that now the girl has nowhere to run. And then she said that she found a vulnerable point. At such a distance, a feather flying at the speed of wind energy would definitely bring victory to her. The teacher said that if they hit the target exactly, her mana would completely run out and they would die. And then the guy asked her if she really had the guts to kill a man. And then the guy attacked, and Ning was able to dodge. But the particles of the explosion hit her body, and she fell to the ground as she walked away. The guy came up to her and grabbed her by the hair. He said he was very grateful to Gao. After all, he had never tried female students before. And then her friend decided to attack and shouted at the guy not to dare touch Ning. The guy attacked her and said, "Is she jealous? Does she want to join the Great Bow with her?" But here Ning was looking for Zhang and wondering what they had done to him. But then Zhang flew in and attacked the guy. He kicked him right in the head. The guy fell, couldn't keep his balance, and let go of Ning. She was very surprised to see Zhang in front of her. Zhang told her not to interfere and to take care of her hand. He'll deal with the rest. Ning asked him if he was okay, or rather, where did he get so much magical power from? Ning asked, where's Wang Tao? Didn't his henchmen go after him? Zhang said that there should be no trash on the academy grounds. A little while earlier, the guy told Zhang that here are all the people he beat up. Zhang said that they were taking them back to the club. Ning said that he should not say that they got it from him so much. Zhang said that the guy did a great job. Let him continue in the same spirit. They will finish soon. Zhang asked Ning if he had caused the bruises on her face. And then the girl said that this psychopath was to blame for everything. She was ready to fulfill any conditions. She's even willing to become his girlfriend with Ning. Zhang said that now is not the right time for such proposals. And then the enemy stood up and asked Zhang, did he want to die? Ning told Zhang to leave her and run away, because he was not his rival. And then the guy decided to attack from behind. Zhang told Ning, what's the point of retreating? He'd rather finish him off right in front of her. Watch carefully. Zhang decided to use his magic, but Zhen told him not to do it. Zhang asked him what happened. Zhen said that with his current level of combat power, the duration of the common soul ability could only be 5 minutes a day. And then the guy, having already struck, Zhang told Zhen why he had kept quiet earlier. And then a fist flew into Zhang's face. Zhen said that he forgot to say that. And then Zhang hit the wall from such a strong blow. His friend watched him and thought that he had hurt his head. Ning asked Zhang if he was okay. She knew it was Liu Bao who was too skilled in fighting. Zhang stood up, smiled, and told him not to panic. The situation was under control. He gave in to him on purpose. Zhang said he was just afraid being more serious would turn him into a wet spot. Liu was surprised that Zhang took a direct hit and survived. Ning said that if bragging were a criminal offense, he would definitely get 8 or 10 years. Zhang asked her, why won't she return it? And then Zhang pointed his finger at Liu and told him to hit her again. The girl said he was crazy, and she told Ning that his boyfriend's brains had been knocked out in the fall. Liu listened to him and said while attacking that this guy was only looking for death. But even here Zhang stood his ground and took the attack on himself, and then asked him, "Is that all?" And realizing that this was all, Zhang said that now it was his turn. And then he sealed him in the ground. Zhang said that Lu was a bit weak. What a pity. Lu was surprised and asked what the guy had told him. He asked how his blows could even penetrate such a defense. And then Zhang put his hand out and managed to resist him. Zhang said, "Didn't he say so?" and also gave permission to attack. And then he launched his attack. Zhang said that with the same level of combat power and practicing the primordial skill, he would never be defeated. And then the guys were surprised and thought he was cool and strong. Ning asked when he managed to gain so much knowledge. Lu stood up very fiercely and said that Zhang would die right now, and he would tear his body into pieces. Zhang's friend told everyone to watch Lu go berserk, and at that moment, Lu began to change. Ning got scared and said that Lu Bao was going to use spells. The guy asked her, "What do you mean?" The girl said that they are meant to increase one's own strength and fight to the fullest. These teachings are passed down only from the master to the disciples. Ning said that a fight between immortals depends not only on the level of combat power. Even a very weak spell can increase its indicators several times. Lu, having transformed into a monster, told Zhang that he now wanted to see how he could repel his attack. Zhang's friend saw the fight and said that things were bad. The girl asked, "Did Lu reach the peak of his abilities?" Ning shouted at Zhang to run away quickly. Zhang didn't run away and just stood there, and then there was a collision and a big explosion. And then Zhang also showed the peak of his abilities, stopping Lu. Ran himself did not believe that this was possible. And then Zhang decided to attack and used his strong grip, and told him to see absolute omnipotence. The girl was surprised and said that Zhang, with his bare hands, was able to break Lu's spell. Zhang asked Lu, was it he who had injured Ning? And with which hand did he do it? Then Zhang decided to break his hand and stepped on him. And soon Lu screamed in pain. Zhang asked Lu, does he still want to finish him off? Let him answer immediately. And grabbing his other hand, Zhang began to break it again. Lu began to deny and told Zhang that he was wrong. He asked him to let him go, and he will do whatever he wants, even become his personal dog. Lu said that Zhang was always bothered by Gao. Let him go and beat him up. Just don't make him an invalid. Lu knew that the idiot would pay. How dare he lie to him? Why mock others like that and set them up? Zhang gathered his strength and said that the train had already left. Everyone should have their own boundaries, and he crossed them by raising his fist to the girl. And then Zhang's friend remembered all the moments when those guys bullied them and humiliated them in front of everyone. At these moments, he was very happy and told Zhang that it was a very good job and told him to kill him. Now, let them know how to hurt them again. Ning told him that it was enough and it was time to stop. If Zhang continues, he will die, and such an act will not distinguish him from himself. Zhang said that today he wants to be a villain and a murderer. Ning thought that this guy in front of her was really Zhang. Lu told Zhang that he had no right to touch him. In his shadow stands one of the coolest founders of their club, Hua Cheng. He is the greatest second-year cultivator master. Is there any common sense in messing with him? But Zhang looked at him and said nothing. And then a girl came and said that she even became interested in who had the guts to start an open fight right in the academy. Or, in their opinion, is the head of the disciplinary committee simply appointed to this academy for show? And then Jiang, the chairwoman of the disciplinary committee, came and saw that this guy, lying on the ground, beaten like a pig for slaughter, was Lu Bao. Jiang walked up to him and started laughing, and said, "You weren't wrong. Did a bunch of dregs from the Martial Arts Society really get what they deserved? It's like balm for the soul." Zhang asked her, "Why did she come, Madam Chief?" Jiang asked, "Isn't he the rumored brother Ning?" Zhang said, "Maybe because they live together." Jiang said, "Is her identity already known? Make way." Zhang said, "Does she have big boobs and is rude?" And then Ning asked, "What are they arguing about?" Jiang said she came to see Ning, not the boar. "The committee has come to administer justice. Get lost." Zhang said that actually it was all his merit that she was still in one piece. If she dared to be rude to him even once more, He promised to knock the silicone out of her breast. Ning asked, "Is it possible to say such a thing to a girl?" However, she apologizes. The joke about fake breasts really made her laugh. Jiang asked Zhang if he was blind or something. They were completely natural. She remembered that she had to take a punch and deflect any barbs directed at her. Luckily, she had studied enough material in the morning and had done her homework in advance. In such a situation, when a wealthy woman comes face to face with a poor slave of the second plan who provokes her, Jiang said that no one should be rude to her. Let the idiot listen to her carefully now, that you shouldn't play with fire. Zhang asked her if she was trying to impersonate those dominant women from weird stories. The guy told Zhang he was asking for trouble. This is Jiang, the school's leader of order. Didn't he at least know that their coalition only consists of genius students? The head of the cultivation department, Shui, is her aunt, and their family lineage, according to others, goes back even further in history than the Gao clan. Jiang thought that according to the novel, the guy should be speechless after her actions and be very shocked. After learning who she is, the students usually shy away and kneel down, begging for mercy. Zhang said that they were birds of a feather. Now it was clear who she took after in her impudence. Jiang couldn't understand why the hell he continued to stand in his stinking, stern pose. There's probably only one reasonable reason for what's happening. He wants to show off in front of Ning. Jiang told Zhang that he wanted to receive double punishment and detention for debauchery and vulgar remarks. Zhang said he hoped she didn't think her vocabulary was seriously fashionable and scary. Hadn't strangers ever told her that her way of speaking was crap? And then all the guys started to get indignant and attack Zhang with phrases, and he said that he understood them. Ning said that she always behaves like this, just given a little. Then Jiang asked Ning where she managed to get hurt. Zhang said the situation is under control. Just step back and let Bao the asshole be finished. Jiang said that it turns out that the person who created the fuss was him. Zhang said no, it was him. Let her go. They still haven't settled some issues. Jiang asked him, is there a limit to his bragging? What kind of fool would believe such nonsense? Zhang didn't speak and glared at her ominously. Jiang asked him what was wrong. Was he angry because he was found out? Jiang thought, was this guy the one who caused this mess? Then she asked him, did he dare to ignore the village chief? Zhang asked her. They had never met before, right? And then she remembered him when she was doing her business in the wrong place. Jiang said it right. They met for the first time in their lives. Zhang asked, why should he bother about strangers? Jiang said she got the idea, but she didn't care. Let Lu and his gang deserve the most painful death. No need to start a fight in a public place. And if he confessed to what he did, she asked him to follow her to the special training unit. Jiang understood that he got what he fought for. He wanted to become the object of their lovely lady's affections. Then don't blame her for settling personal scores. Zhang said, what if he refuses? Jiang said, let him try and take a risk. But in this institution, no one is allowed to say no to the head of justice. Zhang said that he almost forgot, and then the watch said that the difference in combat power levels was too great. It was impossible to recognize the exact parameters. He understood that although she suffered from mental retardation, she occupied first place in the ranking of cultivators in the academy. Along with the student union president named Li, Jiang Yu's skill surpasses that of any other student. Zhen told Zhang to be careful. Her aura is similar to Su's energy. He can't compete with her, even with the ability to merge souls. Zhang smiled and said he was sorry. Zhen had screamed at him to listen to his words just once. But today, she ran into a man who didn't care about her threats. Zhen said how all the pathos disappeared in front of his rival on the love front. Lu Bao thought that when Elderwood tried to hit on this girl, he got slapped in the face, because of which he had to go to hospital for 3 months. The student union and the disciplinary committee are the most influential. Each of their participants stands at the peak of incredible skill. It would seem that an innocent, stupid girl is standing in front of him now. She can compete in strength with Li Tian and being the president of the union. Poor guy. Even if in heaven all roads and paths are open, then in hell there are none. By provoking her, he only brings his death closer, which the man will finally see. Running up to his friend, the guy asked him to stop his groundless provocations. Chen Ning told the chairwoman that he had no bad intentions, so she shouldn't be angry with him. Jiang Yu thought about maintaining a good image and not falling in the eyes of this girl. But she won't let this scoundrel go unpunished either. According to the stories in the books, to make someone obey her, and to leave behind a sense of maturity and experience, I must say the following. Suddenly, she asked the girl how she dared to give orders to those of higher rank. Looking at Jiang Yu with fear, Chen Ning asked why she was so intimidating. The girl was surprised that people began to fear her. Zhang Qing told the man that now he wanted to continue sorting things out. Lu Bao realized that the girl's damn aura couldn't pacify this psychopath. The guy said that all his limbs are broken, and even after that he risks objecting, mentally calling him a scumbag. Lu Bao wondered if he really wanted to humiliate him in front of everyone else. The man replied that of course not. He alone was to blame for what was happening today. The boys were surprised that he had been bullying them for so many years, and now he had given up. Zhang Qing replied that he was always for justice, and since the man repented of what he had done, their conflicts were resolved. Next, he said that they would move on to the second skirmish. Since he had the courage to raise his hand against the girl, the Dantian would be destroyed, so that he could no longer cultivate and pose a threat to Chun Nan, whom he attacked. Lu Bao started shouting that it was not necessary. The guy replied that even if he refused, he would still have to be gotten rid of. Let him be grateful to the laws, because killing people is forbidden. The good-natured society granted him salvation. He immediately began to ask Jiang Yu to save him. Would the disciplinary committee really just leave it as is and watch? Looking at him, the girl asked, so he dared to attack Chen Ning? Then let him die. As Lu Bao flew to the side from her powerful blow, the girls thought that she was really scary. The boys immediately ran to help him. She ordered them not to let him die, to call for help. The girl immediately thought that everything was lost. Now her image of a protective sister was destroyed. Jiang Yu told the guy that this time they would part peacefully, but from now on she would keep an eye on him. Grabbing Lu Bao, the boy said that he needed to get to the hospital within an hour to survive. Let him just tell where Gao Hao is, and he'll be free. The man immediately said that they went to Lun Yin's bar. Having heard the information he needed, the guy immediately let go, and the man fell to the ground. He immediately started shouting for the guys to hurry and get him to the hospital as quickly as possible. Chen Ning asked, is the guy completely crazy? Does he even have an idea of what he's going to do? His family's bodyguards are much stronger than Lu Bao, so what's the point of taking the initiative to take revenge? The girl approached his friend named Lu Ji to ask the guy to try to talk to him. But smiling, he immediately shouted that if his friend wanted to find that annoying guy, they would go together. Zhang Qing asked if he was afraid to beat him up in return. The guy replied that when he beat them up, did he cower and run away? Suddenly, he replied that he at least knows that for arrogant words you can get into trouble. He knew that there was very little time left to ascend to the stage of chi development. Now, he urgently needed a more powerful opponent. And also, the energy of the Pillar of Heroic Souls was finally filled to the end. He understood that summoning a new immortal warrior was his main trump card against Chao. Gao Hao said that he would have to borrow money from his father again to pay 800,000 to those guys. The guy's personal bodyguard asked why he didn't turn to him. Any bodyguard is a better choice than Lu Bao. He told the guy that although the mentors were strong, ordinary students did not pose a threat to them. The guy answered that it was true, but the members of the student union and the disciplinary committee are worth much more than 15 combat capability, which is almost equal to the skill of their elite assassin. And the leaders of these organizations can even compete with his father. He said that their clans are the greatest in all of Tianquan. The Li clan governs the laws of commercial circles. Asu controls the underground world, and the son of the first community is the president of the student union. The man replied that young Master Tian, he was barely 18 years old, but he was worthy of comparison with the best mercenaries of his family. Suddenly, the guy shouted, "What happened? Who dared to raid their estate?" One of the lying ones replied that it was a scoundrel from the Li clan. The guy was surprised because they always did business with him. Besides, they were always revered. Why send someone to round them up? The man replied that there was only one attacker, the young master Li Tian-yi. The bodyguard was surprised that he managed to defeat 10 Shi cultivation stage cultivators by himself. The guy shouted that his father was on the stage of soul purification. He would never lose to some pathetic weaklings. The man said that the young gentleman decided to intrude on the shareholders' meeting, and also to hurt most of her subordinates. The man is afraid that explanations alone will not get him off the hook. After greeting Uncle Gao, the boy asked for forgiveness for such an unexpected visit. He said he had come there to discuss an important matter concerning trade. Let him excuse his tactless behavior. The man replied that he had never seen negotiations conducted in this way before. He said that the formal style is quite tiring, and hoped that the gentlemen present were ready. In order to unconditionally transfer all the assets of the Gao clan to his name, and henceforth obey him. The men were very surprised when they heard this. They called the guy an arrogant boy. The man asked if they had made a mistake by helping to create conflict and instill discontent in the elderly. Li Tian-yi replied that they had misunderstood the situation. This move was not made by his father, and it was not at all directed against their family. He simply wanted any future Tian Chuan bloodlines to completely obey him. The man laughed and asked, "Is this kid completely nuts? Who does he think he is?" Apparently, the last of his brains leaked out on the way there. The man said that the power and authority of the assessors were incommensurate with some worthless characteristics of the minion. If the guy doesn't leave there immediately, let him not blame him later for the bruises on his face that his father will have to see. Before the man could finish speaking, he found himself lying on the floor. After what happened, the guy immediately suggested moving closer to the essence of his proposal. As soon as the guy entered the courtroom, he saw that everyone except his father was lying motionless on the floor. The man shouted at his son not to take a step closer, to stay where he was. Li Tian-yi told his younger brother that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Turning to his father and the president, the guy asked what had happened between them. Li Tian-yi immediately asked what his uncle's answer would be. The future fate of the rest of the family depended on it. The man told his son that he was tired. Let him please find a good place and choose beautiful girls. It is necessary that they serve the gentleman to the fullest extent and let them treat him with respect for his sake. From now on, their clan will belong entirely to him. The guy replied that it was okay. Li Tian-yi replied that his uncle was very erudite because he had made the right decision. He promised to treat them well when he became the ruler. Suddenly the man asked. He was interested to know why the guy decided to commit such a crazy act. The guy replied that, of course, everything that was happening was because of them walking over the heads of the weak. He wanted to get rid of the thorn in his eye. From early childhood, the boy believed that strength was only needed to cause pain to people. Therefore, he had no desire to cultivate, although his parents scolded him and insisted on the opposite, until that very day. The guy asked how this worthless piece of trash dared to go out on the street without money. Get in his way, he yelled at them to stop. Then he asked if it was okay to intimidate others with magic. The boy said that this was apparently the young master of the Li family, who had absolutely no power. There was a loser who imagined himself a hero for other losers. After hitting the boy, he asked how could one be so stupid, after which he said that in their world, intelligence is strength. If he doesn't want to become a corpse, he'd better give the money back quickly. Then he got very scared. Having taken the money from him, the guy said that he was richer than that orphan. They made enough money. Li Tian-yi surrendered to the might for the first time. But even so, the bullying did not stop. They said that next time, if he didn't bring more, they would beat him half to death. The boy replied that tomorrow he would try to steal some more from his father and then give it back. Just let him go. After which the guys said that they hoped he knew what would happen if the promise was broken. After what happened, only one nagging thought flashed through his head. After asking for forgiveness, the boy said that it was because of him that he had to do this. He replied that from now on they no longer knew each other. Li Tian-yi did not want to remain a weakling like the boy standing next to him. He shouted that he was not going to tolerate humiliation from some idiots any longer. From then on, his search for unprecedented mastery began. He did all this to destroy every scoundrel who stood in his way. Having dealt with everyone, the guy realized that it was not enough. He wanted a higher level. He promised to eradicate absolutely all the forces of the world and crush his own underfoot. The guy told the president that the bar was already booked and that a very beautiful student from the academy would come up to them. He replied that it was great, time to move on. He suggested going to a pub and having a blast. Zhang Qing asked if this place belonged to Su Yin. Suddenly he replied, had he heard of her? The Su clan controls the underworld and the black market, while the Li clan is responsible for maintaining order in the business world. Together, they're the most influential families in the city. The eldest madam, Su Yun, had always been very attractive and intelligent, which earned her the nickname of a femme fatale. As soon as they entered the establishment, one of the girls tripped and fell right on him. Zhang Qing didn't have time to apologize before the girl immediately started yelling at him. She asked him, didn't they teach him to watch where he was going? Why did he even bother touching her? His friend started shouting that the young lady herself had flown into him with her soccer balls, after which he said that he was mistaken. These are just 2 ping-pong balls, there are many more. Zhang Qing asked, does this girl seem to be a regular there? Does she know Gao Hao? Can she tell me where to find him? The girl asked him if he was his friend. What kind of family will the guy be from? She said that the gentleman was now on the 3rd floor in the VIP deluxe box. If he wanted, she could take him there. The guy replied that he would definitely tell the gentleman to thank her for telling him the way. But they are not friends at all. The guy is there to kill him. She hopes he won't take revenge on her for this. According to the girl, the VIP zone for entertaining different people is on the 3rd floor. Entry is only by reservation in advance. It is believed that with Su Yun's character, the security there is obviously decent. His friend pushed his way into the crowd and then shouted to the guy that Gao Hao was there with Cheng Yuan. They had a fight and were fighting. Calling the girl a vile bitch, Gao Hao shouted that because of her, he had lost face in front of the young master. As punishment, he will make him drain all the bottles to the bottom. Let him try to serve masterly better. The girl asked the gentleman to let her go. This is her first time. She doesn't want it anymore. He replied that if one does not want to undress, then let her drink alcohol. He demanded that the remaining whiskey be drowned. The girl replied that she really couldn't do it. Her stomach hurt too much. If she continued, she would simply die. Looking inside, Zhang Qing saw too many bottles for a human, much less a girl. That amount of alcohol would indeed be fatal. She wouldn't even make it to the hospital. After hitting her, Gao Hao asked why she hadn't died yet. Why was she pretending to be an innocent sheep? Approaching the girl, Zhang Qing asked why she didn't try to resist. The girl replied, does he even know who is in the room behind him? He is the president of the Academy's student union. He is the son of one of the most influential and main clans of the city. And she is an ordinary beggar with no education or cultivation. He doesn't want any problems for himself, nor does he want to get taught by making the guys even more angry. Otherwise, he will soon suffer humiliation. Zhang Qing replied that this is why he hates humans. Some of them look down on the weak, and the weak don't even try to resist. It is foolish to think that life will be better if you temporarily give up your dignity and pride. Because there are plenty of people like her among the masses. Because of their unwillingness to rise from their knees, a terrible disaster is coming. Jin thought, so the boy had truly let go of the demons. Gao Hao saw him and asked him what he was doing there. Shouldn't Liu Bao have finished him off? The guy said that he would show her another way to live, but let her not get the wrong idea. This act is not for the sake of helping anyone, and only because this bastard got on his nerves. Gao Hao immediately asked what the hell. The guy thought that he was at the 5th level of the foundation creation stage and belonged to the elite among the immortals of the school. Why should he be afraid of him? Gao Hao shouted at the guy to stop talking nonsense. He was going to give him a good beating now. Grabbing his hand, the guy said that he should give back everything that they took. Little by little, step by step. He will return all the money along with interest, absolutely every stolen item. Looking at the girl, he said that after what happened today, she would at least become disgusting in the eyes of others. Seeing two bodyguards protecting their master, the boy asked how dare they stand in his way. They replied that the senior master had ordered that anyone who harmed Lord Gao be destroyed. Zhen ordered him to be careful, because one of them was a practitioner of the threshold of qi development. Turning to Ms. Su, the girl said that it seemed like someone had decided to make a mess of the student. She asked if that young master was really acting out, and by fate's will, they met in her own tavern. Suhan told the mistress that he seemed to have a conflict with the son of the Gao family. Fu Wen added that he hated their clan. The man asked, didn't his father warn him not to cross the path of the Li and Su clan? The girl asked if the mistress wanted to intervene. His bodyguard have experience in fighting. She was afraid the student wouldn't be able to handle them. She asked if they really thought that Mr. Alchemist was some kind of uptight schoolboy. Zhen said that we need to find a way to avoid the clash. These practitioners can fly on swords and cast spells. This skill is not even close to the foundation creation phase. The guy does not have the ability to use the soul unification technique yet. Before the guy could answer, Gao Hao asked why they were standing there like a pillar. Let them kill this puppy. Zhen asked the boy to be careful. He had a spiritual weapon in his hands. It increases the power twice. As soon as the second bodyguard approached from behind, Chun Yuan shouted at the guy to be careful. Fu Wen asked the lady for permission to intervene. Even the deities feared these techniques. In addition, they have artifacts for self-defense. Few can cope with qi cultivation stage cultivators. The girl replied that no, let them take a closer look. The wizard's aura had changed. Zhangqing shouted that the word Hall of Souls. Time froze, and that very space opened up in front of the guy. He began to say that the victim of the greed and emotions of the world, let the greatest with the same feelings heed his call and come to the rescue. He was originally a Taoist of Wudong Mountain, but he met a man in Yangqing. What good did it do him that he had no equal in the world? Even so, she never looked in his direction. She really liked the pathetic mortal. For 50 years, by the shores of the lake, he watched them grow old, love, hate each other, and die. Then, he was finally able to distract himself from his attachment. He managed to comprehend the secrets of the higher principles. He will gain immortality. If future generations were to master his knowledge and techniques, it would become a joke. The boy saw that inside were the memories of Zhang Sant, the founder of the school, who had spent his entire life trying to understand the power of yin-yang. Zhen said that the ghost did not come now, but the teachings of the past arose. The guy replied that it turns out that the Hall of Souls calls not only deceased masters, but also any things ever recorded in mythology. By absorbing the Celestial's illumination, he will learn the highest level of mastery of these spells without ascending. The guy shouted out the excellent style of Wudong Mountain, the power of yin-yang. Having acquired the new skills of a celestial being, Zhangqing easily defeated two powerful bodyguards of the Gao family. Suhan said one slap, punch, and the fight is over. Such a spell is equal to 9 points of combat power. The lady said that it was a unique technique of the ancient Wudong school called Tai Chi Yin-Yang. She didn't understand how he managed to learn such an incredibly complex style at such a young age. Zhen said that this is a very interesting charm. Apparently, among his descendants of the Taoist teaching, there are also geniuses. Everyone felt a rather sinister aura. The man said that he was afraid its owner was able to compete with anyone except their mistress. Suddenly, the girl replied that it came from a monster named Li Tian Yi. The guy replied that it was a very entertaining show. As he could see, the scum had become stronger over the years. He barely recognized him. Zhangqing asked if this was Little Li. The boy answered his old friend how many years and winters. The mistress was surprised that they knew each other. The man replied that if the young master took his side, the Su clan would be at a disadvantage. Suddenly the guy asked if he could really see the head of the unions in person. Looking at his friend, Zhangqing asked, are they friends too? Lu Ji replied that everyone knew about him, as well as about Jiangyu. They were considered the greatest duo of the school. Let the guy not worry. President Li is not at all like the crazy chairwoman of the disciplinary committee. Li Tian, he said, thank you, but enough of the empty flattery. These words and reputation are just an illusion created by the locals. Zhang Qing said that it seemed that fate had bestowed upon him the great honor of meeting Su Yun, Jiang Yu, and now a legendary man. His friends started asking him for an autograph, saying that he was a huge fan of his. The guy shouted at him not to come near him. Lu Ji asked what came over him. Although it seems he guessed, he is probably jealous. The guy replied that as far as he understood correctly, their excellent student was now having a great time with Gao Hao, drinking alcohol. It is believed that their president is actually his biggest supporter. Pushing everyone aside, Su Yun shouted that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Fu, when asked why it seemed like the lady was very angry with young Master Li, she replied that they had always been sworn enemies. Moreover, he tried to win his heart several times, but was turned away abruptly. The rejected Casanova went mad and decided to take revenge by pushing his mistress's 6-year-old brother off the roof. Li Tianyi replied that the Era group of the Gao clan belonged to his clan. Naturally, they had a good relationship. He would never have thought that the once loser would suddenly become immortal, and even the best among the first years. The guy replied that there was no need for so much politeness. There were many outstanding experts in the Students' Union. So how could he dream of getting into the first places? He said that he never tried to be polite to anyone. He just always appreciated other people's talents, and they were longtime friends. He suggested a compromise. It was guaranteed that the Gao clan would not lay a finger on him. Zhang Qing asked if he did not agree. Li Tianyi replied that then, today, he would die. To be honest, he had wanted to do this for a long time. Lu Ji asked the old man, isn't his organization responsible for the order and justice in the academy? Calling him disgusting, the guy told him to shut his mouth. His tongue is painfully long and only talks nonsense. The guy asked if he had never let go of his own unbearable past. Until now, he had always thought highly of it. But I would never have thought that in a couple of years his brain would degrade to the level of those. Little Li, in the end, he lost with his own conviction. Li Tianyi replied that I would be a cow mooing about regression. In the eras of history, heroes in the world were respected for their strength. And now he has more mana than the guy, as well as any other person. Those bastards finally got their comeuppance when they were treated exactly the same way. Zhang Qing asked, did he really enjoy playing the bad guy and bullying others? Zhan told the guy to get ready to run. He was determined to destroy. Zhang Qing told him not to panic. He still had an ace up his sleeve. He thought that perhaps Zhang had a weapon better than the Taiji technique. Chen Yuan asked, does he have the courage to confront Li Tianyi without being afraid of him at all? Suddenly, the guy started shouting that he was reporting to Ms. Su Yun that the gray-haired boar was wreaking havoc on her territory. He said that if she didn't intervene, his head would be smashed against the wall within an hour. Covering her face with her hand, the girl said that she almost forgot. The young master is such a shameless and impudent fellow. Approaching him, she told him not to worry. In her establishment, no one would dare to lay a finger on him. Lu Ji asked if it was the clan mistress herself. Li Tianyi asked her if she was going to fight him. Su Yun replied, doesn't he want her to demonstrate a few new moves? He said that although their families were two sides of the coin, the water from the well never tried to openly fight with the flow of the river. The girl shouted that somehow the river decided to get into the well and make a mess in it. If it touched this guy, it would declare war on her entire family. Watching what was happening, the guy asked why the girl seemed so cool to him for a moment. Li Tianyi knew that there would be no benefit to be gained by engaging in a fight with her right there. Gao Hao told the master that their clan had been working for them for many generations. He couldn't just turn his back on them. He replied that since the mistress herself was asking, of course he would give in. Looking at the guy, he said that he would regret it very much. Namely, for not listening to his advice and beating up the elite guards of the Gao clan. Experienced mercenary warriors will still get him out from under the ground. Zhang Qing shouted that he should come over then. Su Han asked if he was going to engage in some posing. Fu Wen replied that the young wizard initially had no tact or conscience. Let him forget it. Li Tianyi replied that he sympathized with him because the guy never learned to appreciate the last chances that could save his life. Zhang Qing replied that he did too, only because the guy had become the one he hated most in the world. As soon as he disappeared, the guy started shouting that this was the first time they had met a person who had managed to infuriate Li Tian-yi so much. Chen Yuan couldn't understand what was going on. How could this idiot be so powerful? Why was Elder Madame Su on his side? The girl asked what he would do with Gao Hao. The guy replied that it was obvious. If he owed someone, he was obliged to return everything 100-fold. And if he owes him, then even 1,000-fold payment will not be enough. The time has come for the first payment. He told Liu Bao to kill him. How will he pay? The boy replied that he could ask for anything. Zhang Qing said that another representative of the Li family was also there, and his level was no less than that of his father. Falling to his knees, he began to beg the guy not to kill him. Please let him spare him. If he lets him live, he will give him everything he asks for. Zhang Qing replied that, to be honest, he doesn't like killing because it's against the law. The guy kept saying that killing people is not good. He promised to stay as far away from him as possible. I thought, how come I didn't notice before that he's not such a jerk? The guy said that it will take a long time to return it anyway. Let him tell me what is so special about him. What is so valuable about his life? He asked Brother Zhang to just listen, saying that his family had a high position and that he would be useful to him. The guy replied that he noticed that their spiritual weapons were pretty good. He said that he had advanced to the 9th level, but had not acquired any decent equipment. Gao Hao replied that he should just say what item he liked, he would bring it. Even if the price is in the millions, life is still more valuable. Zhang Qing replied that he didn't need them. He said that he heard that the Li family were craftsmen who possessed great spiritual weapons. They united into a family of the richest people and gave them their knowledge in exchange for loyalty. One of them was his father. The guy is sure he loves him very much. His self-defense item is his gift. Gao Hao started shouting that it was a family heirloom. Zhang Qing replied that then he chooses his life. When suddenly the guy asked, didn't he say he would get him a weapon? How can he go back on his word? Let him calm down. Murder is illegal. He handed him the sword, which in an instant turned from small to large. Su Yin said that this is a third-class weapon that can change size. Even her family doesn't have such a treasure. Zhen said that this item was made of 1,000-year-old mysterious gold that could penetrate physical defense. Gao Hao asked if he could leave now. The guy replied no. The first payment had arrived. He needed to continue. He told him to prepare his wallet. Gao immediately asked how much he wanted. Zhang Qing replied that he had extorted money from him and Ziming before, plus the fee for the decoction, as well as for moral and physical damage, he thinks is no less than 8,000. Gao Hao replied that they could agree on 10. Zhang Qing replied that he had said that all debts must be repaid 1,000-fold. That means no less than 10 million in cash. Su Yun said that something told her that it would be better not to put a finger in this guy's mouth. The guy told his friend that it was a brilliant idea to form an alliance with the Su family in order to deal with them. He has outshone both President Li and Chairwoman Jiang, and has added a new fan to his fan base. After which he asked why, by the way, his spiritual weapon was floating on its own. Zhang Qing replied that it was probably because of the handle. He wondered if it could penetrate the defense of a low-level demon. Zhen replied that the material the sword was made of was extremely rare. To forge something like that, the help of an evil spirit would not be enough. The guy replied that in the city you couldn't find a stronger weapon even with fire. The man replied that he would try to cast magic runes on him, after which he shouted absolute destruction. Zhen said that now, everything that his blade touches will be destroyed. The guy did not answer that he almost forgot that he was an alchemist. Looking at the sword, he said that the seals were really scary. With enough mana, it was possible to cut down an entire clan in one fell swoop. The man replied that he did not want to brag, but in this art, except for Buddha and Yunzhong, there was no one to cope with them. Looking at his friend, the guy asked who he was talking to. Zhen said he was curious. He had taken money from a girl earlier, and now from him too. Can people who strive for perfection be mean? The guy replied that he just doesn't fully understand yet. The new society is fixated on resources. Even medicinal herbs had to be purchased with money. Jun asked if he really planned to spend his savings on herbs and elixirs. He said no, he wanted to buy a luxury villa and a car. Jun said that even though he was not human, the guy never ceased to amaze. Zhang Qing decided to explain. He had absorbed almost all the spiritual energy within a radius of 100 miles, but the result was only the 9th level of cultivation. To break through to the stage of qi purification, more emotions and layers are needed. The place must be a source of spiritual energy. Jin replied that it turned out he had been unfair to the guy. The huge house, he supposes, has a magical aura? The guy replied that yes, it is, which they use for their own benefit. He could clearly imagine how the master would be driving around the school in circles on a fancy car, holding Chun-Ning by the hip. Looking at him, the guy asked why he suddenly went silent. The man replied that he was perfectly hiding his brilliant mind behind cynicism. However, let him look at his hands. They are very precious. As it turned out, it was exactly 12 o'clock on June 6th. If he remembers correctly, it is on this day that a brutal battle will break out, where a clan of demons will cross the border of the empire and plunge the world into an apocalypse. Donglong border. A boy asked the chief if the legendary monsters were really that dangerous. The man replied that he had never seen them. He asked, "Do you think this is good? Can a patrol consist of 3 people? Can't the elite of the academy cope with a pathetic race?" Suddenly, the guy shouted monster. The man asked what he said. Because of the wind, nothing could be heard. Suddenly, he was gone. A huge and sinister monster appeared before them. Trying to resist him, the foreman was also killed. As it turned out, there were a huge number of them. With myself watching everything that was happening, the guy understood that he couldn't handle it. He understood that he needed to run. He slipped and fell right onto the snow. The entire patrol was killed because there were 12 monsters. Raising their hands to the sky, they began to shout for the gods of perfect formation to appear. Suddenly, the entire patrol began to rise to their feet. They had all turned into monsters. Once near the border town of Shuling Province, one of the monsters ordered everyone to be killed and turned into unclean. Let the sterile demon sorcerers leave human females alive and continue their offspring. People tried to escape because monsters had entered their city. They started attacking everyone. Suddenly, a huge number of fighters appeared over the city. They struck with their weapons. Everyone immediately prepared for the attack. The goal was to destroy all the monsters in the city. General Hu Wu Wei shouted for them to dodge, as the monster was currently using its spell. Observing everything that was happening around, the general admitted that the border had been completely breached. One of the monsters shouted to the leader of the commoners that they would grind them all into dust. Hu Wu Wei shouted the forbidden technique of the 5 great elements. Let this monster not dare to underestimate people. The monster managed to grab the man. He asked if the man wanted to say his last words before he died. Hu Wu Wei replied that he was the sacred emperor of the Eastern Dragon Empire, swearing revenge by exterminating their entire race. Were these the man's last words? Suddenly, the monster's body began to change dramatically. In a moment, he acquired a human form. He ordered that the prisoners be given to the warriors as a reward. They would need people for reproduction. Let them remember, the pig race, striving to achieve immortality at any cost, is very restless. They cannot be allowed to cultivate. Dongfang Jishi said that last night their border was attacked by demons. Unfortunately, everyone was killed. Next, people began to say that it was impossible. The province near the snowy ridge is guarded by Hu Wu Wei's brother. The man said that he was a great master of the 5th stage of the nascent soul. She replied that it would be better to ask the girl about everything. Her name is Jian Se Er. She is the president of the student council of the Cultivation Academy. The girl is the only survivor. Turning to her, they told her not to be afraid. Let her tell what happened there. She started screaming that no one had survived. Their tribe was monsters. They would never win. It wasn't a war that had broken out there, but a real massacre. Everyone wondered if there really was nothing left of those lands. The girl answered that yes, both warriors and innocents, even children, were not spared. But the young girls who possessed magic were captured. It seems that purebred monsters are not capable of reproducing themselves, so they are kept as breeding sows. Dongfang said, "Let everyone look. These are her thoughts from the past." Suddenly, one of the men asked her how she managed to survive. The girl said that Qi Lu, the leader of the sect, forced the women to entertain him in turns. He promised to release the one who would give him the greatest pleasure. The man started shouting, "Did she really commit such a low act?" The girl replied that it was true. That's why she was there, however. In her womb is a child of the offspring. I think they call them half-demons. Everyone immediately started shouting that she was shameless. How dare she come back at all? Suddenly, the girl immediately grabbed a sword from one of the guards and plunged it straight into her stomach. Turning to the Empress, she said that she asked for only one thing. Let her take each of her memories and find a worthy use for them. Dongfang replied that if they used the art of the heart to extract the memory, its shell would dissipate. The girl replied that it was too late. They had to take action. The Empress did not immediately understand what was being said. The girl replied that she had heard the leader of the unclean say that their lineage came from cultivators of werewolves who were indistinguishable from humans. They have mixed with their race for decades now and are now found in almost every corner of the world. Does she really mean that there might be demons among them? The girl replied that yes. One had already infiltrated. It seemed they were looking for something. Dongfang, that is probably the Emperor's sacred artifact, the Xianyuan sword. Jin Xiong said that a few days ago her internal Hundun was supposed to change. The time had come. Dongfang understood that the capital of the family of great empires was now safe, but this was the last attempt of the fatherland to defend itself. People knew that if Xianyuan fell into the hands of the Wu clan, they would be finished. She knew that they wanted to eradicate humanity with his power. The girl replied that death does not frighten her. She is afraid that people will not know about the founder of the Wu clan, that no one will hear the stories of how people fought until their last breath to protect their empire. She is tormented by the thought, what if no one appreciates their dedication? In her empire, none of the cultivators were afraid. As soon as the girl finished speaking, her lifeless body fell to the floor. One of those present said that he remembered the Empress's uncle, one of the 9 elders of the Qianlong Pavilion. He thinks he is living in seclusion and searching for that sword. Shui Ran's sister is one of the few who managed to survive the encounter with the Wu clan. Serious injuries, she is still strong and inspires confidence. The girl said that then, you'll have to ask her for help. Waking up, the guy shouted secret technique invisible eye. Everything in his room flew into the air. Zhen shouted, after 3 fights yesterday, will he finally break through the level? The man ordered him to restrain his impulse. Otherwise, he would destroy everything there. Looking at his watch, the guy thought that without artifacts, mana would easily leave the body. Zhen shouted that this was the reality of training. Zhongqing broke through to the period of Qi practice. He shouted that during the Qi training period, one level of combat power included a value that increased from 9 to 15. As soon as the guy got to the right place, a new notification came to his phone. It said that the provincial border had been attacked by the Wu clan last night. He understood that history was developing in the same way as in his memories from his past life. In just a month, the demons would attack the cultivation palace. Suddenly, from one office, the guy heard someone talking about yesterday's battle, which was incredible. It was Lu Ji. He said that the people from the ancient martial arts club were pathetic insects compared to Zhongqing. One of the guys shouted that usually those flowers look down on them. This time their friend really got angry. The girl asked if their students weren't rich. She thought that while they had the opportunity, they should counterattack. Suddenly, one of the guys asked what the hell. How could a fool like their friend defeat them? The girl asked him what he was jealous of. She saw what happened on the playground yesterday. The guy replied that he had the 3rd level of combat power. Why should he envy the deputy headman? Can he compare with him? Putting his hand on Lu Ji's shoulder, he began to say that in this world, only strength is respected and valued. Do poor children, who don't even have money for a fee, really win over geniuses? Dreams, and that's all. Don't even think about it. Zhongqing understood that his friend was supported mainly by humanities students. and he, on the contrary, received all the support. The policy of immortality never divided anyone into classes, but people themselves subconsciously divided themselves into worthy and unworthy. In the future, when he becomes a ruler, he will definitely get rid of class segregation. Entering the office, the guy asked what the argument was about. Were they all talking about him? Calling him a dumbass, the guy said he was just in time. Those humanities students praised him to the skies. After which he said that this is precisely why he could fight him. Zhang Qing replied that yesterday was apparently not enough. Calling them pathetic losers, the guy asked if they could really handle him. He understood that it was not worth showing his true strength. It was better to use the primordial chaos. The guy understood that this would be enough to suppress the combat power to 9. Looking at him with admiration, the girl did not expect that he would suppress the immortal disciples with one impulse. Lu Ji told the guy to continue in the same spirit, try to intimidate him. Let him be prepared for the consequences. The guy was the only one who didn't agree with him then, wasn't he? He replied fearfully that his mother had always taught him to respect the strong. Zhang Qing asked his friend if this guy had ever flattered like that before. He replied that he seemed to be a suck-up guy deep down inside. Suddenly, they saw a guy running and shouting that the list on the school forum had just been updated. Zhang Qing had taken the 50th place on the immortal list. Looking at his phone, the guy realized that his real combat power was 15. The gap was still big. They started to follow him, and the student union and Li Tian won't let go so easily. He needs a stronger force to deal with this. Suddenly, the boy asked his friend to take him to Mrs. Shui Ran's office. He was going to apply for the immortal faculty. Shui Ran asked brother who sacrificed himself for this. These are all demons after all. Everyone praises the Empress of the Eastern Empire so much, so why is she afraid of those creatures? Outside, everyone was already talking about the famous primordial planning to change department. Shui Ran didn't understand what the noise was outside. Opening the door with his foot, the boy greeted the teacher and told him that he wanted to transfer to the Faculty of Immortals. Looking at him, the teacher asked if he was really the first-year student everyone was talking about. She didn't feel any mana fluctuations from him. She was curious, because according to the immortal rating, his power was only level 9. The teacher said that the registration fee is 100,000 yuan. Exams are taken every 6 months. If you fail, the fee is not returned. Putting the money on the table, the guy replied that it was no problem. Seeing the large amount of money, the teacher replied that he had prepared. Zhang Qing replied that everything was correct. It was for both of them. The friend was surprised and asked if the guy was really going to pay for his education. Zhang Qing replied that he was constantly looking at other students, drooling with envy, thinking that his friend hadn't noticed. It was too late to refuse anyway, and they were practically brothers to each other. The guy burst into tears and replied that he didn't even know how to thank him. Clutching the guy's leg, he said that if he wanted, he would give him his body. Watching what was happening, she said that if they were finished, then let them leave. Shui Ran said that since he was now on the list, he needed to come to a meeting in 3 days. The guy asked which one. The teacher replied that this was a temporary event organized by the 3rd year. Everything would take place in the format of a duel. It seems like a lot of people are waiting for him to show up. They'll see if he's as good as they say. She thought that thanks to this meeting, she was now acquainted with the genius who had become so famous at the academy. Looking at her, the boy asked if she was waiting too. The teacher replied that she had no time for such trifles. However, students who performed well would take something from the treasury. He wouldn't miss such an opportunity, would he? Looking at him, the teacher thought, is this kid really a genius? Entering the office, Jiang Yu asked her sister-in-law what the crowd was outside. Li Tianyi replied that he heard that a first-year rookie had decided to apply for a transfer. Shui Ran replied that she had said that in the academy, a girl should call her teacher. She asked if representatives from the student union and the disciplinary committee had come to discuss the upcoming meeting. Li Tian replied that it would be in 3 days, and the star freshman attracted a lot of attention. By the way, his council members would also be there. Jiang Yu replied that he seemed like a grown man, but he was talking some kind of nonsense, so it would be better for him to leave. Pointing at him, The girl said that when the time comes, let him enter the ring with her. She wants the disciplinary committee member to defeat him. Jun shouted that this was simply unthinkable. They were definitely accepting this challenge. The guys immediately began to discuss that the student union and the disciplinary committee had simultaneously declared war on the new guy. Lu Ji told the boy to forget about them, because they were at the top of the list. Only a fool would challenge them. The teacher replied that all students attend the meeting voluntarily. If he does not want to, no one will force him. Zhang Qing replied that, as the teacher said, Chairman Li and President Jian are full of enthusiasm. How could he disappoint them? Seniors should not let their subordinates down. Therefore, let them try not to lose at least in the first minutes. The guy will try his best. Hopefully, they won't lose face in the eyes of their subordinates. Otherwise, it would be terrible. He understood that until the demons attacked the academy, he would fight with masters of different ranks. This was a great opportunity to improve his base and show persistence. Pointing her finger at the big guy, the girl shouted that he would represent the disciplinary committee. The man replied that the president should not worry. He would not lose. Li Tian, he told the guy that he would be the representative of the labor council. If he accidentally killed him, it would not matter. The guy replied that he shouldn't worry. He, the deputy representative, would deal with him in an instant. The girl asked if he even knew what the student council and disciplinary committee were. The weakest combat power indicator was 15. She told Chen Ning that her boyfriend was crazy. Please let her convince him. Coming closer to him, the girl said that since the gauntlet had been thrown down, they needed to fight back. The guy replied that he thought she would scold him. Chen Ning replied that she could not change his decision. The girl asked him not to give in to them. Let him show the true power of the newbie king. Zhang Qing replied that she would see it with her own eyes. Jin told the guy that he had been sitting there alone for a long time. Why didn't he go home? The guy replied that most of his opponents were stronger than the master. With the help of chi energy, he can release mana and use it to attack. He is stronger in close combat. This ability may be useless. Jun asked the boy if he wanted to practice the spell with him. Zhang Qing replied that he had 3 more days to learn at least a few basic ones. The man replied that there was little time. It would take at least a week to learn and successfully use even the simplest spells. The guy replied that it didn't matter. He probably guessed that Zhang Qing had been reincarnated, even though it's a little different from the usual. Zhan asked the guy, "Are you sure about that?" He replied that the memories of his past life contained the experience of learning countless spells under his careful guidance. If he trains, he will master at least some of them. Jin replied that there is less and less time. It is time to start. After hard training, the guy finally succeeded. The effect was short-lived. Jun asked the guy what was making fun of him. Taking off again, the guy asked if he was really looking down on him. Just when he thought he had finally succeeded, he immediately fell to the ground at great speed. Jin asked how long it took the guy to master the technique in his past life. Zhang replied that it took about 3 to 5 months. The man replied that he had had countless students throughout his life, but in his case, this was something else. He asked the boy to go home. That was enough for today. It would be better to let him sleep for the remaining 2 days. Even that would be more useful. As soon as the teacher turned away from him, the boy immediately began to try the fire technique again, the technique of raging flame. The man realized that the accuracy was suffering, but this time the flame definitely lasted a second longer. Jin Yuan told him that it was enough. Let him listen. The essence of the art of fire is completely different. Lying on the ground, the guy said that he had 3 more hours. The meeting would start soon. The teacher replied that he of course knew that the guy was smart, but did not expect such persistence. He told the teacher that if he won by chance, he would invite Chen Ning to watch the sunrise with him on the beach. Zhang Qing said he had never wanted to capture a good moment so much, but there are moments that are worth spending a lifetime on. After which the boy stood up and told the teacher that it was time to go meet them. Together, they would definitely cope. Sitting in their seats, the guys discussed that there would definitely be something to see there. Looks like one of the guys is definitely going to take a break. They saw that the great devil was there too. The teacher said that the strongest of the first class, Wang Tao, challenged Ma Tian of the second class. Ma Tian won. Wang Tao realized that he had lost to Zhang Qing before and had fallen for this trick again. Shui Ran said that Ma Tian won 6 matches in a row. Does the guy really want to transfer? Showing everyone the middle finger, the guy shouted for the newbies to remember the lesson he taught them today. The boys were discussing whether any of the freshmen would dare to come out. Didn't he mention Zhang Qing earlier? The girl was indignant because he hadn't wanted to listen to her before, and today he hadn't even shown up. Chen Ning asked, weren't they the two who had tried their best to dissuade him? Chen Yuan asked why he came. The enemy has 15 combat power. The guy can hardly cope. Looking at her, the girl said that she had just called him by his name. She remembered that she had only called him a dumbass before. Li Tian said that Zhang Qing is the same as when he was a child. Is he still running away? Jiang Yu said it was strange that anyone would be interested in him. It turns out he's a real asshole. Suddenly, one of the guys shouted for everyone to look up. There they saw that same newcomer. Zhang Qing shouted that he would achieve 10 today. A friend shouted that they should not look down on freshmen. The guys were happy that he actually came. Everyone immediately started shouting at him that he was the king of newbies. Jiang Yu asked, what the hell? What the hell is this? The teacher said that since he can fly in the wind, it means this guy has already started studying Qi. Everyone realized that his combat power had reached 15. Why was everyone talking about 9 then? The boys started shouting that let the pathetic freshmen learn what it means to show disrespect to their elders. Zhang Qing bowed and said that he represented all the freshmen. The boy challenges the old men. Ma Tian asked, does he really think that with the same combat power, he can fight with him? Without thinking twice, the guy replied that he could easily win in just 3 hits. Ma Tian shouted that he would make an exception today because the difference in combat power between the seniors and juniors was too great. Chen Yuan said that Zhang Qing had really angered the guy. He immediately launched a powerful attack. This is his signature spell, a turbulent flow of water. If the freshmen decided to take a swing at them, then let them dream. With his first strike of the secret technique, the boy was able to reflect his blow. Ma Tian was surprised because he had broken his attack with his bare hands. The teacher said that it was true. The guy used his Tai Chi. Jiang Yu asked if that was possible. She said that their academy was unique, so why was he classified as an ordinary student? The second strike was the power of the wind. Ma Tian used the water technique, breaking the current. Thanks to his excellent skills, the guy easily overcomes the second attack. Watching what was happening, the guy could not understand how this happened. Zhang Qing said that it was time for the third and final blow. After the attack, the guy flew towards the stands where the others were sitting. The seniors sat in silence because they understood that they had been defeated by a first-year newcomer. Breathing out with relief, the girl said that he was fine. Their friends started shouting loudly that she told them he would win. The guy was able to defeat the strongest second-year student. Chen Yuan was surprised. This guy was able to defeat Ma Tian with only 3 moves. Li Tian, he said that there is definitely something wrong with this guy. He thinks that he could be compared to students with a combat power of 30. Turning to her sister-in-law, the girl asked, she saw it too, didn't she? Shui Ran replied that the Manet guy was stronger than them all together. Any techniques he performed would be several times more effective than theirs. Jiang Yu practices the Qiangong City Sect's mind method. There shouldn't be any pure mana in the world. Zhen that the power cultivated by chaos is the disorderly source of all magic. Could its reflective power be the same as ordinary spells? Shui Ran said that since no one else from the second years dared to challenge, the next fight would be with the third year. Turning to Zhang San, Jiang Yu asked the boy to teach him a good lesson. The teacher replied that there was already a first contender. The guy could abstain or accept the challenge. Looking at the guy, Zhang San, one of the members of the disciplinary committee, asked, is this guy the same Zhang Qing? The guy replied that no, he was not Zhang Qing. Let them just call him Daddy. The teacher asked the student Zhang Qing to please answer whether he accepted her challenge. Chen Yuan asked Chen Ning to persuade her boyfriend to give up because they say Zhang San has a very hot temper. The girl started shouting at him that he had already defeated Ma Tian. That was enough. The guy had already avenged all the freshmen. The boys started shouting Why doesn't someone else from the disciplinary committee fight? Let him refuse. There's no point in this fight. Zhang Qing replied that they were all right, but the guy accepted the challenge. He is there to gain experience and energy. Is it possible to retreat now? All the guys saw that he really was going to fight. They thought it was better to close their eyes. There was no point in watching him get beaten up. Chen Ning shouted his name. Chen Yuan asked what the hell that idiot was thinking. Li Tian told his protege that it seemed like the problem had resolved itself. The guy replied that with Zhang San's character the boy would either die or remain crippled. The teacher thought that if he was the mysterious genius on the playground that day, perhaps the outcome of the battle was not so obvious. Zhang San said that the guy was much more interesting than he thought. If it weren't for the president's order, they could have become friends. Zhang Qing replied that they were all similar, so confident in themselves, although they were nothing special. Without thinking twice, the guy decided to strike first. Running up, he began to approach his enemy. Without realizing it, his strike trajectory suddenly changed. Zhang Qing struck straight into the ground. The guy realized that he didn't even dodge, so why couldn't he hit him? Zhang San said that he has excellent strength and speed. It's a pity that it's all useless against him. Looking at him intently, the guy thought that if not by brute force, then by magic. In his next attack, Zhang Qing decided to use the wind blade, the art of wind. Directing his flow of energy towards the man, the guy saw that he simply walked past him. Zhang San looked down at the ground. People asked why they came there. The guy asked what this strange power was, and it just changed the trajectory of his wind blade strike. The man replied that his power was 15, but the power of the wind blade technique was comparable to 30, which was not bad. Zhang Qing realized that the technique he was using caused the wind mana to move around the body in a special trajectory. The man replied that it was right on target. This is a new development, a wind pearl that protects the owner. He can ignore absolutely all attacks. So in the committee, people respectfully call him the invincible Zhang San. Jiang Yu said that after 2 attacks, they had already seen the greatness of his defense, but the first Goth still didn't plan to give up. The teacher understood that the boy would definitely lose, but he was talented, so he should ask his brother to show mercy and not accidentally kill him. The girl replied that they would talk about it after he got on his knees and begged for mercy. Zhang San said that the guy was really not bad. If he apologized to the president now, he would not only refuse the fight, but also recommend him to the disciplinary committee. The boys were surprised because Zhang San himself wanted to be his supervisor. They shouted for him to join the disciplinary committee. All the students became high-ranking officials of the academy or the Immortal Crime Bureau. The guy can become rich. Chen Ning said that this is great. And what if the parents find out about this? The guy asked the disciplinary committee. He apologizes profusely, but he's not interested in student fun. The man became angry because those who do not respect the committee must pay for it with blood. Looking at him, the guy realized that in one hand he had a raging flame and in the other a gust of wind. He thought, so that's how it is, the harmony of fire and air? Third year, he used 2 spells at the same time. It was a legendary skill of controlling 2 elements. The girl said that this attack would be extremely cruel. The teacher understood that the man was a genius, possessing magical abilities of fire and wind at the same time. The guy said that he probably wants to commit suicide. It seems that his participation is no longer required. Li Tian said the 5 elements and 4 elements, life and death restrain each other, and the wind kindles fire. When wind and flame are released simultaneously, their power increases several times. Zhang San shouted for Zhang Qing to repent or die. The boys shouted for him to surrender or die. After the strongest blow, Chen Ning burst into tears and said that she could not feel his breath. Could he have died? Li Tian asked seriously, did he die? It seemed that the person who dared to challenge him should be able to entertain them for a long time. Jiang Yu asked why Annie didn't do anything. She had the opportunity to stop him. She shouted at Zhang San that he was only asked to teach a lesson, not to kill him. Suddenly, Shui Ran said that the girl was wrong. He was not dead. It's impossible. It's simply impossible. It's the emperor. Zhen said that in ancient times, Empress Nuwa combined the magical power of demons, the body of witches, and the spirit of fairies to create humans. Therefore, man is a product of heaven and earth. He carries within himself all that exists. The true secret of chaos is the true law of the human race. It is the force that carries within itself all the laws of the world. If it is in perfect harmony with the truth of chaos, then the true body of chaos will emerge from it. The guys couldn't understand what had happened. Why had the boy's hair changed color? Zhang said his harmonious fire and wind were dispersed by an unknown force. The guy replied that most of all he is proud of his ability to master two elements at the same time. But how can he do that? Now the guy is all nine. Jiang Yu shouted that other than the emperor's cousin, there was only one person in the world who could control any kind of mana. The teacher answered that it was true, the true body of chaos, which the emperor had not yet mastered. However, the technique has always belonged only to the ruling family. So where did the guy learn this? Zhang Qing said the union of wind and flame. He is not the only one. Moreover, the spell cast in this form is much stronger than usual. Zhang San ordered his pearl to protect him as attacks came from all sides. Once behind him, Zhang Qing easily smashed his pearl. Pointing his gun at the man, the boy told him to surrender or die. Watching what was happening, the teacher thought it was him, the man who was on the playground that day. An incomparable genius, perfectly suited to the true chaos that can inherit the power of the next generation of emperors. Zhang San said he gave up. Zhang Qing won. The guys were surprised that a freshman Snow defeated a member of the disciplinary committee. Chen Ning couldn't understand when he became so strong. Lu Ji that the man lost. Then the boss will raise his rank in the immortal ranking. The first year got into the top 20. Looking at the president, Zhang San asked for forgiveness and said that he was useless. The girl replied that he shouldn't blame himself. They underestimated him. Everyone can win or lose. Li Tian told Chao Lang that the guy was participating in the next battle. Let everyone see how big the gap was between the disciplinary committee and them. Suddenly, the boy's body trembled and he fell to his knees. Zhang Qing said that it took much more strength than expected. Zhun said that after the battle, his mana had obviously increased. A little more, and he would reach a combat power of 20. Shui Ren approached the guy and said that his strength was running out and he couldn't continue fighting any longer. She thinks it's better to stop here. This guy's true chaos body is still immature. His limit is 3 minutes. He asked the teacher, does the boy want to give up? Shui Ran said that the last challenger is Chao Lang. His combat power reaches 50 units. A swordsman whose skills surpassed Zhang San's. Even if he tried his best, he would not be able to snatch victory. The guy has done a great job, so there is no shame in refusing the next fight. The committee will still accept him as the most talented and provide the best resources. He replied that 3 days ago he promised that he would no longer run and hide, and that he would trample anyone who stood in his way, be it God or Buddha. There is no other way, because this is his path. Smiling, she replied that there is a price to pay for being young and frivolous. Shui Ran said that he decided to continue. The last participant, the 10th on the list of immortals, Chao Lang. The boys were happy that the newcomer king would continue to fight. His opponent was the vice president of the student union. Covering her face with her hands, the girl called him crazy. She said that this guy was definitely not all there. Zheng Ning said that they say that Chao Lang once accidentally obtained the remnants of the imperial swordsmanship of the Shushan school. Hearing this, the boys asked, are these the ones who live in seclusion outside the Magic Mountain? Can such a monster be defeated at all? Li Tian said that it seemed like he wouldn't have the opportunity to deal with this guy. He didn't expect that he would be so reckless. Turning to the president, the guy said that after the murder of the first-year student, he promised to protect him. The rising glint of the sword, the flying immortal royal sword. As expected of the vice president of the student union. Chao Lang told the boy that in competitions, every opponent is an enemy, and he shouldn't hold a grudge if he turns out to be too cruel to the younger one. Zhang Qing replied that he didn't expect anything less from his younger brother Li Tian. Even this dignified appearance, they were very similar. The guy said that it seemed like he didn't know their students very well. But he shouldn't worry. After this battle, all misunderstandings will disappear. Thanks to his reaction, Zhang Qing was able to draw his sword in time and stop Chao Lang's weapon. The boy thought that, fortunately, the Xianjin sword had been improved and its quality was much higher than that of the Chao Lang sword. He understood that otherwise, the consequences would be terrible. Zhang San said that this was the first style of Yujianshu that used a sword, and it was with this weapon that he broke through the defense of his pearl. The girl replied that the blade alone was comparable to the strength of the students of the Shushan school. His mana was running out. How did he plan to win? Chao Lang asked, "So what next?" Raising his hand, the boy said he had a question for the vice president. Although he tries to hide it, the bloodlust in the energy of his ball does not deceive others. Does the guy really want to kill him? Chao Lan replied that such questions, does it make sense for a dead person? The guy replied that of course it does, because in that case he can, without hesitation, give it his all and finish him off first. Rising high into the air, Chao Lang shouted that the games were now over. Watching this, Jiang Yu said that this technique kills everyone within 1,000 miles. The blade's chi energy is not inferior to the power of his style. Li Tian said that the end was obvious. Chao Lang shouted that his limit was 1 sword. And if there were 3, how did he plan to deal with them? As soon as the boy touched Jun, the man ordered him to get ready and give it his all. Looking at him, Chao Lang said that he didn't expect it, so that means the guy was hiding an ace up his sleeve. However, powerful spells have a long cooldown period, so you won't be able to use them all the time. He shouted that this time he would see how the guy would fight off all attacks. Zhang Qing replied that the supernatural powers of the ancestor of earthly immortals were not just some kind of trump card. 8 trigrams, 7 stars, 5 elements for elements, yin and yang. All this is Taoist knowledge to which he dedicated his life. Turn all this knowledge into a unique magic circle. Oppose your desire to change your life to the sky, and then the whole world will turn upside down. Swinging his sword, the boy easily cut through Chao Lang's attack. The teacher noticed that the ball's brilliance was completely suppressed. The aura of that magic circle, even she couldn't understand it. Chao Lang asked how could this be? His techniques, his art, even his combat power are more than 3 times that of the guy. Zhang Qing replied that the Star Atlas was enough to reverse all 5 elements, yin and yang. The spell that enters it will gradually be destroyed. And now it's his turn. With his eyes filled with rage, Chao Lang shouted at Zhang Qing that he would finish him off, tear him to pieces. With his true Dharma body, the source of heaven and earth, he can make any magic circle move with the caster. From such a technique, Buddha and immortal gods, and even the sacred altar will fall. Suddenly, fear appeared in his eyes. Chao Lang shouted at the boy not to come near him. Zhang Qing asked himself to pull himself together to squeeze out the last ray of mana from his body. He had to win. Li Tian shouted that now, while he was in the air, he couldn't dodge. Let him use the energy of the ball and finish him off. The boy shouted at the gleam of the sword. Let it reveal its power and ascend to the heavens. A powerful explosion thundered in the air. Everyone froze in anticipation of what would happen next. The guy shouted that there was plenty of time to get close. He would already be nearby when he prepared the next blade art attack. Zhang Qing said that there were few ancient powers left. Jin replied that with his cultivation base, the distance that could be shortened was very limited, but it would be enough. As soon as the boy was as close as possible to Chao Lang, he pierced him with his sword right into his heart. His lifeless body fell to the ground. All the boys realized that Zhang Qing had killed Chao Lang. Chen Yuan asked him if he was crazy, right in front of everyone. She didn't understand how this could have happened. Zhang Qing said that since his reincarnation, this was the first time he had failed to suppress his killing urge. Without hesitation or guilt, so calm in his soul. The guy asked the master, he should be qualified now, right? Calling him a bastard and a beast, Li Tian, he asked how he dared to do this. Li Tian shouted that he was ordering the student union to kill him for him. The guys answered the president that their lives were dear to them. They joined for the sake of prosperity. If they died, then the union would come to an end. Calling them a pile of trash, he thought that if he didn't finish them off today, the student union would lose all its glory. But if he does it with his own hands, the agreement with the Lee and Su families will be broken. Approaching Director Shui, he began to say that that impudent man killed a student, and she was just watching what was happening. The girl asked, "He killed me, so what? People die all the time. There's nothing you can do about it." Jiangyu intervened and said that he wanted to kill a freshman. Everyone present witnessed it. According to heavenly laws, this is justified self-defense. Turning to the gentleman, he asked the man if he also thought that the members of the student union deserved to die. The man replied that in this matter, the final word belongs to Director Shui, and he, as the heir of the Li family, should not be too bloodthirsty. The guy asked, "So the director is asking him to turn a blind eye to this?" He replied that although there were many cultivating forces in Tianquan City, under the influence of the Li and Su families, the well water would never spoil the river water. However, he heard that the guy had lured and then threatened to annex the Gao family and others, making the Li clan incredibly strong. Li Tianyi replied that the man was so lenient, but is there a rule that prohibits annexing major families? The man replied that not at all, but his students were the elite of the great aristocratic families, and as a teacher he hoped that the key forces would strive to maintain balance. The director says that he shouldn't take any action, because the struggle between the strongest groups must stop. In this miserable school, students are always bullying and setting up the weak. Is that good? The man asked what he meant by that. The days when he was being bullied terribly were like hell, which he would never want to go through again. For him, this is 1,000, even 10,000 times more terrible than the violation of the balance of power. The guy doesn't care about his position. He just wants to trample everyone in his path, make everyone tremble with fear and submit. And no one can stop him. The man replied that there was no right or wrong solution, and if that was what he wanted, he would no longer give him advice. Turning to her aunt, the girl asked, "Is this the same cliched villain from the novels? Should she really kill him?" Li Tian replied that it would be fine today. He would save the face of the two teachers and let the boy go, but he would also ask them not to lecture him in the future. The principal asked if there were any other people willing to fight. If not, then the principal declared that by winning the fight with the seniors, Zhang Qing would become the champion. In addition, after defeating Xiaolang, according to the rules, the honor of being the 10th on the list of immortals passes into his hands. He is the only person in the history of their school to enter the top 10 as a freshman, and at that moment a new hero was born. He asked all the students to stand up because they would all witness a historic moment together. The guy thought being the center of attention was how it felt. The moment he dreamed of in his past life turned out to be like this. Jean said that in the battle just now, it seemed like the guy had made a breakthrough. He replied that even in the first battle, it seemed like the skill of managing qi had grown a lot. The guy didn't expect that he would challenge Xiaolang and be able to jump to the third stage of control. His combat power reached 30. Absorbing the obsession of the audience, one of the 9 pillars of the Hall of Souls is almost full again. He already feels how an unknown ancient god wants to answer his call. Jin replied that such an aura is afraid. It is not God or a soul, but rather a demonic spirit. The director thought the unrivaled genius who was on the playground, it was definitely him. Perhaps he would be able to inherit the Qianlong Pavilion. The man said it was time to unify the prize for the champion. First, a magical artifact from their treasury. The winner can choose any as a reward. Secondly, the guy received a letter of recommendation from him and Director Shui personally. Let him choose what he likes in Tianquan. The third reward is connected with the secret of their school. They will tell him everything later. Hugging him, the girls said that it was great with the recommendations of the directors. There was nothing more to worry about. His parents would be proud of him when they found out. Approaching them, the director said that they had enough of being nice. Let the guy follow her to the treasury as soon as possible. Jiangyu said that he was truly special, so he was worthy of becoming her first love rival. Suddenly, she told Chenning that yesterday she was given a dose of saline solution through an 4 drip. and today she wanted to receive a dose of it. The girl immediately asked her to talk about something else. Zhang Qing replied that it was quite decent behavior for an elder. They entered the huge treasury. Looking around, the guy said how many books were taken out of print. A bunch of magical weapons. Everything is so shiny. He is afraid that he will go blind. Looking around, he asked if he could really choose anything. The director replied that she wanted to ask him something first. He replied that let her ask, for the sake of the treasure, the student would tell her anything. She started saying that a week ago, who was that unknown person on the playground? Zhang Qing replied that he was afraid and did not know what teacher Shui was talking about. The girl replied that it was a pity if such talent had been there. He could have collected a couple more treasures from there. The guy replied that it wasn't money, but dignity, after which he said to raise it to 3. Shui Ran asked if he was confessing. The guy replied that only if the teacher kept it a secret. A genius like him should be very reserved. She can't believe that this guy, who doesn't have a penny to his name, is worthy of inheriting her position as the master of Qianlong Pavilion. His main task now is to increase his combat power as soon as possible, and the best option will be to take a high-level panacea. Zhan said that the Dongxian pill is the greatest third-class elixir. He has the power to speed up his cultivation by 30 years. The guy replied that the selection there was much larger than in the Sijiadan pharmacy. He thought they would be able to find them. All this, centuries-old treasures. There is even ancient arterial grass. The guy said that now he can easily get what he needs. However, what should he choose as the final prize? Suddenly, he shouted that it couldn't be. She was there. It wasn't a spirit stone, perhaps the remains of saint. He told the teacher that he chose her. Shui Ran replied that with the help of other people he could do alchemy. It makes sense, but this relic. The guy replied that after death, the body of the saint turns to dust and is kept for future generations, but it lies idle. The director asked if he wanted to know why. She had picked up the remains in the ruins, and then had to take them there for safekeeping. She couldn't let them lie around in the dust. If he doesn't want to lose them, then he'd better give them back right away. The guy immediately asked what about the third award. The director replied that, unfortunately, she was connected to one secret of the academy. She would tell him everything when the time came. It just so happened that this treasure was also obtained from there. He immediately asked, she won't go back on her words, will she? Last time he got his ashes in that place, is this it? Zhun said that such a relic is a simple decoration. Why did he need it? Zhang Qing replied that the bodies of ordinary saints are indeed useless, but who do you think these ashes belong to? The man asked the boy if his name would scare him. He replied that it was the supreme Buddhist being, as famous as he was, Buddha Shakyamuni Tathagata. Zhen asked why the hell this brat Tathagata owned it. What would he possibly need his ashes for? The guy said that in the Hall of Souls such things are used as a sacrifice, and then the chance of summoning a spirit is much higher. In his previous life, it took him 10 years and a fight with a witch to find the Tathagata relic. Zhen asked, does he want to use the ashes to summon its master? The guy answered that he does, but it's too early. He needs to prepare for it to be successful. Li Tian-yi told Gao how that guy had disgraced him. Doesn't he want revenge? He replied that no. Why would he? If Chao Lang was killed, what could he do? The man replied that his family was much better than that guy's family, and besides, it was only one person. Gao Hao replied that the first year is currently the most valuable talent in the academy. If they ask the head of the family to kill him, the director will not let it go. Li Tian replied that then let them use the people from the academy. The guy shouted that he was the 10th on the list of immortals. Besides him and Jiangyu, who else could kill him? The man replied that he should just do what he was told. When his reputation was destroyed, he would die and would not even get a funeral. The president of the Guwu Club, 3rd on the list of immortals, Hua Chengwu. Turning to the guy, Chunning asked what treasure he chose. The guy replied that it was a stone. Looking at the car, drifting nearby, the guy said that the one behind the wheel is definitely a master, since he controls it so easily. Suyin told the guy that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, after which she asked if he could help her with one calf. He immediately asked how he could serve her. The girl answered how much she loved to hear that. Leaving his hand on his face, She said that the little master gave her a panacea that turned out to be very effective. The father was grateful for the help, personally rewarded him with a banquet. She said that her birthday is in a week. Her father wants to throw a party where he will gather all the relatives of the Su family. He will come, right? Zhang Qing replied that since it was her birthday, he would definitely come. The girl said that then they would see each other in a week. Chen Ning asked this girl from the Su family, how do they know each other? He replied that he used to bring his brother takeout food. That's how they met. She said she met an influential family delivering food, and now she's invited to a birthday party? What kind of fool does she think she is, man? After which, she said that he should forget about it. If he doesn't want to talk, he won't pry. It's time for them to go home. He immediately started saying that he was so hungry. He was wondering what his mother had cooked. Looking at her hand, the girl realized that he was moving further and further away, so far that she could no longer hold his hand. But she forgot to tell him that she had moved to the 9th level. She thinks it's not worth talking about it yet. Jean said that if he is not mistaken, the girl enrolled in Xinka from the very beginning of her studies, and only 2 months have passed. To reach such a period of time, up to level 9, practicing only basic exercises, even the word genius will not be enough there. These brother and sister are like a mystery that even he can't solve. Zhang Qing said that the campus was so fresh in the morning. As soon as the girls saw him, they all immediately started running towards him. Lu Ji said that she spent so much effort choosing a gift. Doesn't she want to congratulate him personally? Zheng Ning asked since when were there so many beauties hanging around him? The guys realized that it seemed like the girl was jealous. As soon as he started running after the girl, Zheng said that people's hearts are unpredictable. Just a few days ago, he was a scumbag who was avoided, and now he suddenly became an idol. The guy replied that it had always been like that. Let him get used to it. The man immediately asked, it's nice to be a hero, isn't it? Zhang Qing replied that it was not the time to relax. There were 20 days left before the Wu clan's attack. He needed to get rid of all the interference as quickly as possible. When faced with immortal witches, even the slightest mistake can lead to a tragic end. The man then asked who the next target was. The boy replied that Hua Chengwu, the third on the immortal list, with the 9th level of control, if he encountered him at the current stage, he would definitely lose. The main thing now is to refine the Dongxian pills to increase combat power and summon a second heroic soul. The spiritual material is quite hard, and his mother is too weak, so it will take a decent amount of time. 2 days and 2 nights without any breaks. Entering the office, the guy asked the director for forgiveness. Looking at him, she asked if he had come to get an assignment. Ho Chang-woo replied that his conditions were the same, regardless of points and bonuses, as long as the reward remained high. She said that this was a level A mission. For criminals kidnapped the son of a high-ranking official and used him to escape. And he will also remind him that the risk of dying while completing a task exists even for him. Let him not forget that life is more important than money. Thanking her for her concern, the guy replied that he was accepting the order. The director said that this was the 4th mission of this level in the last year. She wondered why she would risk her life like that. Hua Cheng-woo replied that those born into poor families did not have that choice if they wanted to survive on the path of cultivation. And one more thing, a few days ago their club was destroyed by Zhang Qing. The guy replied that he knew he was watching from the audience. Shui Ran said that no matter how powerful the first year was, he was not his opponent. Let him do her a favor and not touch him. As he left, Ho Chang-woo replied, let the director not worry. Liu Bao and Wang Tao humiliated themselves. The man said that the boy should remind him what they talked about. He replied that if he tried to escape, he would lose his fingers. Watching them, he realized that the opponents were strong. 2 were on the same level as him. The rest were a little lower. The guy understood that the hostage could get hurt. First, they needed to be distracted, separated, and killed. They immediately asked, what the hell? Is it really an earthquake? Suddenly, one of them shouted that it was time to run away from there. He realized that these were the wood technicians. They were from the Immortal Criminal Bureau. The guys were shouting that this was the art of concealment. The man couldn't feel his breath. He couldn't determine the number of people. As soon as he wanted to say that he would use his intelligence skills, he was immediately killed. One of them saw the direction of the attack, but upon reaching the place, he realized that the enemy had immediately moved. The guy shouted to the boss that this forest was sucking out their mana. They needed to hurry. The man decided that he would take the hostage and force the creature to come out. Calling him an idiot, his partner shouted that he should stay behind the trees and not go out into the open. Before he could get to the right place, he was already killed. The man said that it looked like they were the elite of the Bureau of Immortals. He shouted that his defense has no flaws. Should I show myself already? The target was captured. Hua Chungwu decided to use a double shot. Moments later, the third of their team was destroyed. His defenses had not worked at all. Looking around, he said that now the leader of his own, and with a power of 90 units, is trying to escape. Suddenly, he saw the man walking towards the hostage. Swinging his arm, he said that he would take it out on him. Covering himself with his hands, the guy asked him to stop because he was not running away. He asked that they not kill him. As it turned out, Ho Chung-woo covered that boy with his body. The man called him crazy for risking his life for others. The guy understood that if he failed the task now, he would not see his 5 million. The man saw that the blow had landed right in the chest. He was standing on willpower alone. Shouting out to the Immortal Crime Bureau, the man said that he was simply a monster. Hua Chung-woo replied, "What kind of immortal is he? Just a student of Tianchuan Academy." The boy thanked the uncle for saving him and said he would ask his father to pay him in full. The boy asked if he could increase the reward. The man said that what was to be expected, the president is indeed terribly strong. Gao Hao appeared before the boy's eyes. Clapping his hands, he said that his respect was unmatched by anyone. Hua Chung-woo asked, "Is it possible that young Master Gao also wants to propose a task?" Gao Hao immediately said that he should help kill someone. The guy immediately asked what the price was and what the name was. He replied that it was 10 million Zhongqing. As soon as he finished saying the name, he was immediately refused. Hua Chung-woo had already given his word that he would not touch him. Martial arts practitioners should not break promises. Gao Hao said that he could set any price. In this world, it was worth agreeing to profitable deals. The guy replied that he did not have what he needed. Showing the pill, he replied that if he couldn't give it, then someone else could. In recent years, the martial arts club has been desperately raising money, all for the sake of an elixir that can prolong life, right? Gao hopes Chairman Li is telling the truth. Otherwise, it will only take 3 seconds for this guy to finish him off. Hua Chung-woo replied that there were only 5 people in Tianchuan who could get this item. Does Li Tian, you really want to deal with that guy? If Zhongqing dies, no matter if there is evidence or not, all suspicion will fall on him. According to the rules, this is a serious crime. Gao Hao replied that no. For starters, the first year's reputation would fall to the very bottom. He would become a sinner, condemned by the entire academy. You just need to be open and honest with your teachers and students and punish the villain. The man said he had not expected his son to be so lucky. The woman added that she had always worried about his future after finishing school. Looking at his parents, the boy asked them not to say such depressing words. Also, let his father not forget about rest and not to rely on alcohol. The father replied that today was a beautiful day, so we should celebrate. To restore our strength, we should drink properly. Looking at her brother, the girl asked when he managed to become so powerful. The guy thought how good it was that he was prepared. Zhongqing began to tell that completely by chance he managed to get a couple of tips from an expert, and then he taught him some techniques. After which the Su family hired him as an alchemist. His parents began to say that this was the most honorable and rare profession among the immortals in the entire country. Looking at him, the girl asked, did he really hide it? So that's what it means. Jin said that it was to be expected, half truth, half lie. The guy replied that it was his family, and he shouldn't dare reproach him for anything. The father smiled and said that their son had become an alchemist. It seemed that little Ning would have to rely on her younger brother in the future. Zhongqing said that, by the way, one of the rewards was a handwritten copy of the law and cultivation. The knowledge from the book is much better than what the academy can give. Looking at her brother, the girl asked if he had prepared this especially for her. The guy answered that he had. The woman said that since childhood, he loved his sister the most. Watching them support each other makes her heart happy. Zhen asked, so the request to give a collection of countless Taoist knowledge was for the sake of his sister? The guy answered what exactly. The man said that the manuscripts also belonged to his good friend, the first immortal before the historical world, Dao Jun Hongyun. The guy asked, so surely she would like to see Hongyun's style? Zhen replied that the guy doesn't have to try. She was killed by the witch clan. At that moment, the guy realized that time, at the moment of the call, they were talking about her. Zhen asked the boy to promise him one thing. No matter what, he must defeat the Wu clan. Protecting the human race was also her goal. Zhang Qing saw a strange dream. Zhen screamed, how could this be? She is the first immortal who could do something like this. The girl replied that she was fighting against the demon emperor. She was captured by 12 ancient witches. She doesn't think she will survive. Is this really for the sake of people who have nothing to do with her? She replied that one hall of souls was not enough to protect the human race, and then asked him to do something for her. Before her soul leaves the world of the living, let him take her body and seal it in a blade capable of destroying the witch. The powerful purple chi of the saint will make him the strongest and most deadly weapon in the world. Zhen asked him to kill him with his own hands. The girl replied that for her he was a real brother. She could only trust him with this matter. Zhen promised. The man promised that after her death he would make great wishes. He would reincarnate into people from generation to generation, following the master of the Hall of Souls. He knew that the owner of the hall could see part of the memories through dreams. The boy suddenly woke up and asked if it was an earthquake. They suddenly realized that it was coming from Chun Ning's room. Running inside, the guy asked what happened. She answered that it was art, a feeling as if she had entered into symbiosis with him. Before the girl could come to her senses, she had broken through to a new level of qi training. Zhen said that he had finally found Sister Hongyun. Chen Yuan asked, did young Master Gao and President Ho want something? Gao Hao replied that they would need help to deal with Zhang Qing. Coming as close as possible to the girl, he ordered her to do something. Gao Hao asked her, there is no need to teach her how to seduce a man, right? As for the payment, she thinks 200,000 is a good price. The girl needs money, so let her sell her body. In exchange, she can become Xinka's disciple and completely change her life. Turning her face to the side, the girl asked for forgiveness and said that she refused. Grabbing her face, Hao Gao said that he didn't understand what she said. Chen Yuan replied that she was sorry. After hitting her, the guy shouted that he was giving her one last chance. Just let her try to say it one more time. She shouted that she would not do anything. After all, she wanted to be like Zhang Qing. Grabbing the girl by the hair, he said that last time she said that she was still a virgin. He said that now he would check how true these words were. At the same time, I decided to see if the guy would come to the rescue. When suddenly the door opened and the director asked what was going on there. The guy told Director Shui that it was nothing. The girl just fell. He just wanted to help her up. Shui Ran told the girl that if she was being bullied, she should speak up and she would support her. The girl replied that she was fine. Gao Hao said that was all, he would go. The director asked him to stay. As soon as he turned around, Director Shui slapped him in the face with all her might. As soon as the guy looked up at her, she said that he was now free. She thought he was worthy of succeeding her, but it seemed the director was mistaken. Hua Chengwu replied that he had his own reasons. Looking down at the floor, the girl thanked Director Shui. She then replied that it was okay. She could go. Looking out the window, I thought that all this garbage, in the future the kingdom of Dunlong will be full of it. Monsters from the clan of witches. The guy started telling him not to get so angry. Let him find someone else. It's not a problem. Gao Hao asked him if he had any options. The guy said that there is a schoolgirl who looks very attractive. It will be easy to lure a guy who has never seen life. Gao Hao said that she was so innocent. Where did he find her? The guy asked. Innocent? Yes, she will stand in any pose for money. Zhang Qing said that to move to a new level in one night, envy her. Zhen replied that he simply lacked the skills. He thought that if Chun Ning was really Hongyun's reincarnation, then where was the witch-killing sword now? The guy had barely entered his treasure when suddenly someone shouted that the king of the first years was already there. They said that with his presence, Gao Hao would no longer dare to be arrogant. Watching from the side, he thought that he should enjoy the moment while he could. Lu Ji told his friend that with such popularity, recognition from beauties is inevitable. The guy replied, "What kind of beauty is there?" Entering the office, the girl asked for forgiveness. She asked Zhang Qing was there. It turned out to be Sun Qian from the Foreign Languages Department. The friend told the guy that she just fell out of the sky for him. Raising his hand, the guy said that it was him, after which he asked if she wanted something. The girl started saying that he was incredibly cool back then at the competition. She likes him, so she asks him out. Running away, the girl shouted that she would wait for an answer after school. Let him definitely come. One of the boys thought how cute. When will his turn come? Looking at his friend, the boy asked if he really wanted to run away already. Zhang Qing replied that maybe he would open his mouth somewhere in the temple. Lu Ji asked what temple. The guy replied that seriously, what was the best way to refuse her? Jin immediately asked what kind of temples. Why hadn't he heard of them before? The friend shouted at him not to even think about rejecting the confession. He had been with Chun Ning for so long, and there was no progress. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Lu Ji told his brother to listen to his advice and go to her. Friends can help him one day, and the girl will always support him. Jin said that there is some truth in the words, but the premonition is bad. Jun told the guy what a hassle. He already received a confession. What to do? He said that he had never fallen in love, but once he decided to follow the goddess and failed. The guy asked if he was rejected. Jun said that she asked him if he was sick, and if so, she advised him to take medicine. But the guy just imagined she was so worried about his personal well-being. Suddenly, they heard a woman screaming about what he was doing. The girl was asking him to let her go. Zhang Qing said that something seemed to have happened. Zhun decided to use his mana. He said that the girl was 300 meters to the right. There were 4 auras around her, each with a combat power of about 5 to 7 units. The girl cried and asked them to please stop. Her boyfriend Zhang Qing would not let them get away with this. The man replied that their president Ho Chang-woo had already returned, and before he could agree, he was hit in the face with a foot. The boy saw his friend lying motionless on the ground. He decided to strike first, but Zhang Qing's strength was much greater. Suddenly, both sides of his arms were chained. He realized that his strength was gradually leaking out. Was the weapon really sucking out mana? One of the guys shouted that the soul-binding lock could block the meridians throughout the body, and its power would soon run out. They didn't expect that Zhang Qing himself, who defeated Liu Bao, would fall into their hands. Buying the spiritual weapon was worth the money. Suddenly, a sword began to hover right above the guy, and a moment later, it easily cut the chains that bound his hands. The guy shouted that he just tore them. High-grade artifacts are worth hundreds of millions of yuan. How dare this poor guy? Suddenly, they realized that they couldn't move at all. Grabbing both sides of the chain, the guy pulled them towards him and the two collided. As soon as they started falling to the ground, he delivered the finishing blow. After a powerful attack, both flew in different directions. Zhan said that if he could control the air so freely, then his Tai Chi had reached the highest level. The spell change is slow because the abilities are too low, but the Soul Hall's ability to cast the spell makes up for it. Taking off his t-shirt, he put it on the girl and asked for forgiveness for coming so late. Suddenly, she pounced on the guy and said that no, he was just in time. After which, she said that the guy fell for it. Suddenly, Gao Hao and the other elders appeared next to them. He said that Zhang Qing was an animal in human form and asked what he did to the girl. The man said that Gao Hao had provided information that someone at their school was harassing girls. He didn't expect that this scumbag would be the newly minted hero. Zhang Qing watched the scene silently. Sun Qian pretended to cry and said how good it was that they came. If they had been a little bit late, she didn't know what that guy would have done to her. The president told his ward that Director Zhao and Shui were there, and that they should speak clearly and to the point. The guy started telling that they were walking through the forest and noticed the first goth harassing a girl. Trying to help, he did everything possible to eliminate the witnesses. Looking at them, Zhang Qing asked what they were up to. Calling him an idiot, the girl asked him if he really liked her. If Mr. Gao hadn't shelled out a ton of money, she wouldn't have even dared to look in his direction. As he passed by, Gao Hao called him a damn psycho and said that this time he would definitely die.